all ready for an Irish fuck party.
Burger at the burger at the burger.
We're men, and we're not afraid to say that we love other men.
What up, G?
My life is nothing I thought it should be and everything I was worried it would become, because for 50 seconds I thought there was monsters on the world.
What Augean stable of misery do you live in if you fantasize about driving a bus or sitting on a bench? What's next, a breakfast eating simulator? Oh, careful, not to burn your digital toast. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go play an office simulator. Oh, no, wait, that's my job.
Whoa, I think I just figured something out, Beavis. What? This sucks. Yeah, it really sucks. This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
Don't say no for an answer. There's no
Can I see more white women getting clotheslined, please?
People don't understand. People don't understand. People like me. 'Cause these eyes can see right through you. Don't be surprised.
So Snoop Dogg wins the match because Shane McMahon blew his knee out.
Damn, that was bad, bro.
People don't understand. People don't understand. No, people don't understand. People don't understand. No, people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Name a podcast on YouTube with a better intro theme than us. You can't find it, so don't even try. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're back here with episode 96 of the Ballroom Podcast, and I'm joined here with some familiar faces, if you guys have been here long enough, and some very, very familiar faces as well. But let's go ahead and introduce everyone who's in the panel here tonight. A good buddy, Words of Paradise, a.k.a. Leon, is joining us. How you doing there, Leon?
No, I'm living the dream. It's been fantastic last couple of months to be on this side of the internet, let me tell you. So thank you for having me back on. It was a blast last time. Happy to do it this time. We got some wild stuff to talk about tonight. Let's go. Also, Mark, to see you, man. I've been watching you for a long time. Nice to officially meet you, brother. You are legit one of my favorites in this space. So much better than the other black dude on this show. Like, I'm joking, society. I love you, man.
Hold on. Do I have a button for that? Oh, yeah. Here you go.
Would you please shut the hell up?
And I have another one, too.
I'm the tribal chief around here. Yeah, you see me, the tribal chief. That's right.
Not anymore, he's not. So, you know.
Well, he's still the tribal chief. He just isn't the champion anymore. But
That's
we
true.
can get into
That's
that in a
true.
little bit. Our good buddy Mark with a C joining us back again. How you doing there, Mark?
I came to get down. So get out your seat and jump around. Jump up, and get down. What's up, guys? It's a pleasure to be here. All right, man. Doing great. Raring to go.
Our good buddy Mr. Roberto Moto is here. How you doing there, Rob?
Too many many occasions where people like fuck with my name growing up. So yeah, that's always a fun reminder. Just
Brought
you
back
know
like
what's
some
weird?
third grade
How-
memories. All of a
it's
sudden.
fine. It's fine for me to call other people Bob. It's not. It just doesn't feel right. Anyway, no, I'm doing good. Your guys' energy is a little high for me, but I'll try to
Oh,
meet
don't
you
worry,
halfway there.
we'll bring it down in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Don't worry. And then our good buddy, right? And then Mr. Good Orange Hat Reviews. How you doing, Nate Orange?
Top of the evening to you. I'm doing good.
I mean, you can buy a lot of things on the internet these days. I wonder if you can buy an orange cab on eBay. Like, how much would that cost? Like, it doesn't have to run, but just like to physically have one, it's got to be somewhere out there, right?
Probably.
Is it an orange cab like a taxi?
If I could buy an...
Yeah.
You can just go to New York
all
and
I need to
steal
do
it.
is buy a freaking...
Yeah. And then get
just
a spray
steal a
painted
cop
or-
car, spray paint it orange, remove the siren. It's essentially the same damn thing.
Just get an old Crown Victoria.
I like that.
Yep.
Let's do it.
That's one thing I don't like about like cops like these days. It's not they're generally like shooting people's dogs and like harassing people for arrest. I just don't like the fact that they all drive like Challengers now and like all these like glorified like SUVs. Like what happened to just the old school Crown Victoria? It's like it had a style, it had a sense of presence. Everyone knew exactly what it meant. It's like you're trying to be way too modern.
They had all the drug money they confiscated that they needed to spend on things. So that's what it went to.
Now they need the space where they could fit all the freaking guns and shit and gadgets and whatnot.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, where am I put my shotgun in my Crown Victoria? It's like, oh no, it's not like a you problem.
All right.
All right. Well, joining us here tonight, we got a lot of people trickling in. We're live on YouTube, we're live on X, and we're live on Rumble right now. So our good buddy Keith is joining us over there on the Rumble side of things. Here on the YouTube side of things, we have Maximilian Sterling saying first. He was here way before anybody else, even before I even had to link up for Rumble. Almost forgot to do that before the show started. That would have been awkward. Good buddy Keith Howard is also joining us here, saying hello to everyone. Leslie Tarkin saying hi to all you lovely people. And then, of course, our good buddy Neozoic here saying howdy, good friends and the barroom crew and the good folks in the chat. So he has a question for us. This will be our opening discussion here. Which adult animated sitcom show would you rather watch? The Simpsons, and we're going from the first 8 seasons, South Park, the first 11 seasons, or Beavis and Butthead, the first 7 seasons? If you have to choose between one of these 3, and I'll shoot this one over to Leon. Which one are you picking?
Well, if I had to choose between one of these 3, it's probably going to be South Park, but I would sacrifice every single one of them on an altar to just say all of Futurama because it was consistently good, unlike all of these.
Fair enough. Mark, which one are you picking here?
I'll probably say Beavis and Butthead, just because that also comes with like old music videos from when music videos used to be good.
Yeah.
So you'd be tripping off the story of Beavis and Butthead, but also tripping off the music too. So I like that.
That's true.
Rob.
Yeah, I'm old enough where I actually bought the VHSs, like that like you can just skip through the music videos because at the time, like I just wasn't super interested. But I don't know, like both the Simpsons and South Park, I felt like got better after season 8, or season 11. Because I came in with South Park kind of late. And it felt like it didn't really get good until like 2004, 2005. But I'd probably go South Park. I mean, it's hard to beat late 90s Comedy Central animated comedy.
Yep. Orange Hat.
Those are 3 choices that I mean, I only remember seeing one episode of Beavis and Butthead, and that's because Beavis had a fucking bloody nose and Butthead was just torturing him. The Simpsons, you'll never get better than the Simpsons Halloween, where Bart had to fight a gremlin on a bus and then also became a vampire. South Park, I never watched it. I seen a couple of clips here and there. I've seen the movie Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. But other than that, I haven't watched a full episode of it. So if I'm going to pick anything, it's probably going to be The Simpsons. It's probably going to be The Simpsons.
Though, The Simpsons really creeps me out, though, just because of their predictions. You know what I mean? It's like, what's up with that? You know what I mean? Like
psychic working for him.
That's what happens.
Yeah, they know
shows
some
written
stuff,
by Freemasons. Yeah.
Well, the guy who created it, Matt Groening, he went to the local state university that I lived by in Olympia, and he's like one of their most famous alumni. And I mean, I can't really tell you anything about it except it's like super hippie left wing, you know, kind of fucking like they literally tried to
Portland,
assault
basically.
multiple teachers a couple years
Ooh.
ago. Got into the headline news. Evergreen is the name of the school, but yeah, no, just a weird place altogether.
I would personally have to go with The Simpsons here because Simpsons has a bigger impact me growing up versus the other two shows. South Park, I didn't really get, like, I remember the earlier seasons of South Park, but for me, South Park didn't really get good until it actually like stopped trying to do its own content and just start lampooning like all the stuff that was actually happening in the world, and that's when the show like really took off for me. So if I based on that, I'll go with the later seasons. And then Beavis and Butthead, I only vaguely remember the first couple of seasons of Beavis and Butthead, but I did like the movies that they've done over the last couple of years. I think it holds up a lot better than some of the other ones. So
classic South Park had a really good episode where George Lucas and Steven Spielberg like try to remake Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the South Park kids had to stop them. Like it's like I think it was one of the first few episodes of South Park I ever saw, and to see George Lucas and them like open the Ark and die was just it made my childhood.
And that was before Disney. They did that before Disney. Oh man. Bowie's a question here from Neozoic. He says, which are your favorite Three Stooges moments can you recall if you are old enough to remember the Three Stooges? So, Leon, I'll shoot this one back over to you.
I've seen a bit of Three Stooges, but I was always more of a Little Rascals kid. So, like, I actually don't have as much, like memories of Three Stooges bits I like. Mine is just what I would see is in passing growing up. So I unfortunately can't answer this one too much. But Little Rascals were great, and I can tell you about Little Rascals bits. So,
Mark,
sorry, Neo.
Yeah, you say if anyone's old enough to remember, man, this crap was out in like the 40s, man. You know,
yeah, no,
I'm pretty sure there's nobody on this panel who was even thought about back then. But every now and then when I catch it, I mean, I can't really name a specific short. It's just everything they did was hilarious. You know, it's one of those shows that's legitimately funny. You know, just watching them just do dumb stuff. You know, so but I will say that
physical comedy.
Yeah, you know, like the slapstick and all that stuff. It's definitely it's a dying art, and actually it might be dead by now, but. Yeah. You know what they did, they were masters at it, and I really do respect what they did back then. So.
I would argue that if Hollywood wanted to revive comedy, since it doesn't have the ability to tell funny jokes anymore because, you know, it has to fit 2024 standards, I don't know, bring back slapstick comedy and try to make people laugh that way, and then try to revive it in that direction.
I mean,
but,
you have people like the Farrelly brothers who, you know, when let me put it this way, when movies were good or at least better than they are now, Hollywood sort of was just like, you're embarrassing us. With like Stuck on You and Dumb and Dumber and There's Something About Mary, but guess what? They all made money. They all put people in seats, and that's something. Comedy has been dead in Hollywood for at least a decade now. It's really sad.
How dare you not mention Kingpin when bringing up the Farrelly brothers?
No, it's a great movie. I love Kingpin. But again, that's something that Hollywood is a little bit more respectable than those other movies, even if there's a lot of gimmicks with his hook and everything. So, but the Three Stooges I actually was introduced to as a kid. So I don't remember too much, but there is a short called All's Well That Ends Well, where they're digging for oil, which of course ends in, you know, in them hitting some and basically getting all black and you know, wet with oil. So that's kind of one I remember as a kid, but going past that, I can't recollect too much.
Yeah, I think like John Ritter and Jim Carrey, you know, I think they were probably the last that I could think of that kind of did like that classic slapstick. You know, I see someone talking about Jackass, but that to me, that wasn't really okay. It might have been physical comedy, but
those are like, just idiots doing dumb stuff. Like that was
that wasn't a craft. Like these guys were actually like masters of a craft, you know, and you just can't wing something like that.
There's choreography to it. There's, timing. There's a lot that really goes into it. As you said, it's a lost art form.
It's not actually, just, hey, let's put a bunch of... Go ahead.
So, I feel like we're seeing modern day. The most slapstick we get is in when you see these modern day movies that are like these B horror movies, like Black Friday or whatever. Like they're this sort of same vein of Evil Dead, where it's horror comedies, but they have a lot of slapstick elements to them, and that's what we're actually getting, that level of that style of comedy.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not just, hey, let's put a bunch of morons in the back of a truck and have them do disco as the truck is moving, then they fall around and hurt themselves. Not saying it's not funny, but I'm not saying it's also not typical slapstick comedy either. So,
well, for example, Jackie Chan, you know what I mean? It's like, you got to be crazy. That's like Charlie Chaplin type stuff from back in the day when he used to like let a whole building fall around him.
No, that's Buster Keaton. That's Buster Keaton.
Was that Buster
Charlie
Keaton?
Chaplin. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That was before him, wasn't it? Was Buster before him?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, giving him.
Well, I mean, they worked at the same time, to be fair, in the 20s and 30s, but yeah.
Yeah, Buster Keaton. That's it. He was crazy, man.
An insane person, definitely. Who else do we have here? We have Vanya joining here saying they love the Deadpool trailer. So shout out to you. Who else? Leslie's picking Beavis and Butthead. It says that she doesn't like the Three Stooges, but loves Oliver and Hardy and the Marx Brothers. So, fair enough.
He means Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah. Laurel and Hardy.
Okay. Alice vs. Evil saying hello to everyone here in the chat. Who else do we got here? Great intro. Fantastic intro. The best intro on YouTube. Tactus Jones saying that he would probably pick The Simpsons only for the first 3 or 4 seasons. Got repetitive. Yeah, The Simpsons fell off pretty hard there. Leslie Tarkin has the audacity to say that 01 has a better intro than me. How dare you? Just because I can't use the AI art like Cider does not mean that his is better. Who else do we got here? Tactus Jones. His favorite Stooges moment was from Hold That Line, where you see the 4 Stooges, Larry Marcole and Shemp on screen for the one and only time. Yeah. All right, who else we got here?
Cool. Best Three Stooges movie came from Best Three Stooges moment came from the movie Short Circuit, when 3 robots were basically turned into the Three Stooges.
Who do we have? I got.
And you will never convince me otherwise.
Fair enough. Christopher Dominguez joining us here tonight. Tactics let us know that Ford does not make Crown Victorias anymore. Yeah, that's the problem. That's what we're trying to.
I think 2005.
Yeah, Queen Latifah went postal on that, or when they stopped.
Mm-hmm. As they should.
If you know,
Roscoe, you know. Roscoe drove a Plymouth Fury. Okay, fair enough. Still not as cool as the Crown Vic, though. Maurice Johnson joining us here saying, why did MTV stop showing the music videos? Because they did not have the rights to the music videos that they were showing. This is a major reason why a lot of MTV's music-related shows are not on Paramount Plus, because they actually don't have the rights to the music videos, and they would have to cut a deal for essentially every single artist that they've ever shown in the course of the last 40 years. And since they're never going to do that, it's just not on Paramount Plus at all. So if you don't have it on a VHS somewhere, you're shit out of luck.
I mean, you get royalty-free music at this point. You know what I mean? That's, like,
exactly.
That's what they're going to start doing. It's like, all right, we're spending way too much money on music, so let's just do the free stuff.
So imagine Beavis and Butthead like reviewing vaporwave playlists on YouTube. Like,
oh my, no, could you imagine even worse? Like a royalty-free version of TRL. All the music is royalty-free. That would just be the worst. You could bring Carson Daly back. I mean, he's not doing anything outside of eating a lot of burgers. Who else do we have here? Lorenzo joining us here saying Beavis and Butthead was amazing. Mike Judge is the greatest King of the Hill. Yeah, I'm surprised. Well, King of the Hill was one of the choices, but that's a very good show too. Doba Fett joining us here. Leslie Target said Beavis and Butthead reminds me of my friend Jeremy and Matt. Mom used to call Beavis and Butthead. Fair enough. Marie says physical comedy isn't technically dead. Jackass picked up in the 2000s. Yeah, we just talked about that here. Who else? They were better. It says that the Marx Brothers and Laura and Hardy were better than the Three Stooges. It says Buster Keaton as well. Maurice
nobody beats Abbott. No one beats Abbott and Costello. Who's on first? Like that was a crazy routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
Mm-hmm. Who else we have here? Maurice saying I was more of a family guy growing up. Leslie's laughing. Spencer joining us here very late. I guess he just got his time adjusted.
He's booing himself for being late. He's booing himself.
Yeah, right. And then everyone else is joining us here. So, like I said, we got people that'll be trickling in as the show goes on. Of course, Rick will be here in like 10 minutes, but we're going to start the show without him because he's not that important. But let's go into this story. This is kind of so. Look, we got some positive stories here, some good banner, but I want to get this story out of the way because I know we're going to get heated talking about it. This is kind of a follow up on last week's story. Now, last week we talked about the issue with Ben Affleck and his trans daughter who decided to come out as trans during Jennifer Garner's grandfather's funeral. So it was her grandfather's funeral, right? And we had mentioned that, yeah, if you try to pull a stunt like that at my dad or my mom's funeral, I'd probably kill you, and rightfully so, but that's besides the point. And what we notice here is, like I said, there seems to be an explosion of specifically Hollywood actors who are coming out, who are all saying that, oh yeah, by the way, all of my kids are trans and all of my kids are non-binary. And the latest one here is from Naomi Watts and what's his name, Liev Schreiber. Now this isn't really a new news story. However, some people connected the dots last week and just made this story very, very disturbing here. So Naomi Watts, who I believe was actually in a movie that I liked a couple of years ago called Infinite Storm. I think it was like one of my top movies that year. She was at a, I guess this was a fashion show in Brooklyn with her son, who is now her daughter, Kai, who's 15 years old, and this was the picture, and they went viral last week because everyone was showing basically like parading around, you know, their trans kid. Like I said, every person in Hollywood is doing this. We talked about the Ben Affleck story last week with Jennifer Garner. Apparently Jennifer Lopez has her own, and there's a huge list of them here, which we'll get to here in a second. And like I said, there was put photos of them at a fashion show. If you guys remember what I've told you about fashion shows over the last few weeks, and that should probably be a little bit disturbing too, but they were all inked out and they were all at this event, and everyone was all saying, oh, great for her for having a trans kid. Until people remembered, wait a second, isn't that the same kid who not too long ago was dressed in a Harley Quinn outfit when he was like 8 years old? And yes, it is. So going back just a little bit further here, this was, I think, Comic-Con. I want to say this was 8 years ago. This is probably 2016, somewhere around that time in San Diego. I'm not even sure if I was here for that one. I might have been out of town that year, but Liev Schreiber had dressed up his 8-year-old child in this photo right here, where he was. This is him with the same kid who I just showed you here is trans in the other one, but at the time this was an 8-year-old boy dressed as the what was it, the Margot Robbie Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad movie that came out that year. And I specifically remember this because when this happened, there was a lot of people online who were very, very upset by this because people were saying, dude, let alone the fact that you've dressed your 8-year-old child as Harley Quinn in this outfit, I wouldn't even let my 8-year-old daughter wear this out in public. It's like, what the hell is this all about? He got a lot of flack for that at the time, and people started pointing out that there was a lot of other very disturbing details about him and his relationship with his kids, like multiple pictures of him kissing his kids on the mouth. Like, so another thing people were bringing out here saying that, oh, this is definitely not right. This is definitely not okay. What the hell is going on here with this family? Keep in mind, these are all pictures of the same kid, by the way. And now all of a sudden they're happily parading around their child as, oh yeah, we have a trans child. Isn't this great, everyone? And this is something that, like I said, we've talked about for multiple weeks here. This is an article that actually came out on Ncuti with this. They just released, what is it, a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is actually about a week ago, and it's basically compiling a list of all the famous celebrities and their trans kids. So you have here, obviously, Naomi Watts. You have Dwayne Wade's son, who's now a girl. Warren Beatty. I mean, it just goes. The list goes on and on. Charlize Theron, who we've talked about, who adopted a kid from Africa, who she claims that at the age of 3 years old came out as transgender and has been raising him as a girl ever since. So it's just one story after another after another. What's her face here? I think she's even down here.
Dude, Dana Carvey right now got to be thinking his lucky stars. Dana Carvey, like, well, I know my son just died a few weeks ago of an overdose, but at least he wasn't trans. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah.
Marcia Gay Harden, who also all three of her kids are theys now. So this is something people have been talking about. Even, what's his name? Bill Maher had a monologue about this a year ago. It's like, what is going on here, and specifically in Hollywood when it comes to trans kids? It's like, have we been suppressing trans kids up to this very point, or have we been producing them? Because one or the other is happening. That's like, it makes no sense that in the real world we don't see this explosion, this epidemic that we're seeing all across. But in Hollywood, it's almost like happening at a 3,000 times rate versus everyone else. Then, of course, you have to, like I said, the focus on the original story here is that you had this actor who, like I said, dressed his boy up in provocative girls' costumes when he was only like 6 or 8 years old or something like that. And then very disturbing pictures of like him like kissing his kids on the mouth. That's not the only picture out there. You can find even more. And now all of a sudden, oh yeah, that kid that we raised as a girl the entire life just so happens to be trans now. And people are like, is there something more that the FBI should be looking into some of the stuff that's going on here? I'm going to start this one off.
The FBI that's controlled by Hollywood? Like,
I was trying to say FBI, but I thought, well, maybe CIA. No, that's no better. I can't say the CIA either. It's all screwed up, people. That's all I'm saying.
We need to get Afghanistan in here and take a look at Hollywood. Like,
good Lord.
Gee, I'm going to say something that's going to get us kicked off of YouTube. Mark, I'm going to start this one off with you as someone who is a father of a kid yourself. What is your take about not only just Liev Schreiber's child, but the fact that it seems like everyone in Hollywood has a trans child at the same time they just so happen to be pushing an agenda of LGBTQ kids, specifically within this age group here? Like, what's kind of the way you're processing this whole story right now?
I mean, you can't look at it without, well, I can't look at it without thinking there's something demonic about it. You know, I think that Hollywood is some type of a cult, a cabal. It's something, you know, it's like if you're going to thrive there at all, then you got to kind of get in with what they're doing. All of their little low down rituals and everything that we really don't know about, you know? So it's kind of like they're leading the charge on all of this. They're leading by example, and I do believe that a lot of them will sacrifice their kids. I mean, after all, a lot of kids who get into the business are brought into the business by their parents who will do anything, you know, to get paid off of that industry, including sacrifice their kids, you know. So it doesn't surprise me when I see actors doing that, because they sacrificed themselves a long time ago, you know. So this is what they're doing, and you know, it's very scary because for the rest of us, we don't realize how these kids, to me, when I look at the kids and I look at their faces, they look like they've had or are having a psychotic break. You know, none of them look like they're just happy. Yeah. You know, children are supposed to be like, it's a magical age. You know, they're full of energy, they're full of wonder and happiness, and a lot of times it's reflected on their face. These kids look dead inside, man. There's something wrong. And I gotta say, you know, while we're talking about this real quick, that we just had a demonstration at the school district over here around where I live, because last week a trans girl who used to be a boy brutally attacked another little girl in the 7th grade. Yeah. And it made the news. There was blood everywhere, you know, because she like repeatedly hit her over the head with like a steel cup or something, you know what I mean? And like I said, they're still talking about it on the news. And I didn't know,
one of those
because
cups that like women are like strangling each other in Target,
Stanley cups or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, see, okay, then I believe this kid is actually trans because only women care about Stanley cups. So maybe this really was a boy trapped in a girl's body.
Right. You know, and they're not reporting that on the news. It just so happens that this is the same school district that my son goes to. So he's like, "Oh yeah, Dad, everybody knows about that. It was a trans person, you know, who attacked this person." You know, so it's not a healthy thing, man. And when you see them reflecting this in Hollywood, it's indoctrination. You know, it's grooming, it's indoctrination. And the longer we put up with it, man, the worse it's going to get. You know, the longer people are afraid to say, listen, this is crazy. You know, we got a problem.
And it just so happens, and we mentioned this last week, with the binge child, it's because these people live in a bubble, a very crafted bubble up in Hollywood, where no one is allowed to judge this community or say anything against this community whatsoever. So you talk about how, you know, a girl can sit there and come out as trans during her grandfather's funeral. It's because she was born and raised in an environment where no one is allowed to come up to her and say, what the hell are you doing? Like, no one's allowed to challenge this. No one's allowed to say. You can only have 100% support of whatever the hell that's going on here. And we know that it's not right. Like, we know that things are going going on behind closed doors with these parents and these kids is not right. We've talked about it with the Nickelodeon documentary about a month ago, with Drake Bell revealing that, you know, he was the one who was sexually assaulted by one of the producers at Nickelodeon while he was working on the Drake and Josh show, while he was working on the Amanda show. And the parents, the relationship the parents have with these producers and these kids, and it's very, very clear that this stuff is going on behind closed doors. And then just a second quick part of this story here before I shoot it over the orange hat. Schreiber here is currently promoting a Broadway play right now, which think about it, this is his second projects like this, where he's essentially trying to expose, quote unquote, the sexual abuse of the Catholic Church. It's like, how about we expose the sexual abuse in your own household? Like, can we start there and then make our way up to the Catholic Church? Because I have some questions about some of the things that goes on behind your closed doors.
He was in Spotlight, by the way.
Yeah, like I said, that's the other one.
Yeah,
he was the other one. So yeah, it seems to be a trend with him. But Orange, I'll start this one. I mean, I'll shoot this over to you. What's your thought on the story?
Every single one of those parents should be arrested, including Liev Schreiber, because you are, or I remember back in the 90s, if you were doing shit like that, like kissing your kid on the lips like that in public,
yeah,
you'd get the cops showing up at your door along with CPS, because that sort of stuff was considered inappropriate. Now, as for all of these kids who are trans and whatnot, I have not seen a single one of these kids who are trans by these celebrities, a single picture of them where they are smiling. Have you all noticed that? There is barely any, if at all, where they are smiling. So I'm guessing that they're not really that happy now that they fucked up their bodies beyond all repair. I mean, they should get rid of their middle names and call themselves, or make sure that their middle names are forevermore FUBAR, because they are fucked up beyond all recognition and all repair. When it comes to the whole trans issue, look, if you're an adult, do whatever you fucking want. If you are a kid, you do not know what the fuck you want. I'm sorry, you don't. Your brain is not even fully freaking formed at that point. How the heck do you even know what you want? You don't.
I mean, I just look at this child, and, you know, like I said, I'm trying not to say things that get me kicked off of YouTube, but then when I see like photos like this, and this is a photo from a couple of years ago when the kid was only 13 years old, I just think to myself, dude, what the hell is going on here? Like why would
whoever
anyone
put that photo up should be freaking arrested?
This
Naomi
is the
Watts,
kid's mother.
She should be freaking arrested. That is disgusting shit.
I just wanted to say something
ahead,
real quick. Yeah, I mean, listen, I grew up as a young person voting. Like, I was all for gay rights. I was all for people being able to get married and whatever. And I really don't care what people do. Like, even back in the day, I would have said like, oh yeah, of course, like, you know, trans people should have equal protection under the law and all these things that anybody else has, of course. It wasn't being pushed so much in the culture. I mean, this is such a weird thing. And I said this years ago. I was like, there's something weird going on with this being pushed, with it constantly being in the spotlight, constantly being talked about, when it's a fraction of a percent of the population. You know, otherwise it's just like teenagers wanting to be different and standing out and all that stupid shit that teenagers do when they're young, because that's, you know, you're confused. But, you know, I've like a lot of those people are going to eventually grow out of it if they don't fuck themselves up, you know, before that happens. So I'm willing to accept all of that. But the fact that so many celebrities are like promoting and showing off their trans kids, it's really fucking weird. And I say it's really fucking weird because it's not okay. Yeah, it's not natural. But I mean, even among it occurring, you know, whatever, naturally, it doesn't show up like this. So I don't even know what to think about it other than, I mean, is it just narcissism? Is it just, hey, this is another way I can market myself, and here I'm an ally and I care about, the gay community. I mean, is it just propaganda? Because at the end of the day, it's like, I don't understand what other than, trying to change public perception. Hey, what the fuck is this for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the whole Liev Schreiber, Naomi Watts thing, I literally didn't know about it at all. Like, I didn't know about this at all. Naomi Watts, I think, is a very talented actress. She's been in many things. Liev Schreiber is kind of a weirdo. I've always felt like he's kind of a weirdo, and this kind of just like, oh, wow, okay. I know we were talking about in chat earlier about movie 43, which, look, it is a gross out, this kind of disgusting type of comedy movie. It has multiple skits. Many of the actors were wanted it to disappear from the light of day because they were either so embarrassed by it or they just didn't want it to get out. And I don't know if James Gunn just was owed favors, how he got some, how did he get
I didn't know James
on
Gunn.
his face? I don't know. So it's things like that where it's like, okay, did you have something on these people and they owed you a favor? Anyway, so there's a lot of weird shit when it comes to celebrities trotting out their kids like this. Jamie Lee Curtis was on record earlier, saying, my daughter, because it's a son, I don't know, gets death threats and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, then don't go online. I mean, I'm not saying that's a solution in the 21st century or whatever.
But that is absolutely a solution because from the inception of the internet, people have been talking shit about what you got a fucking mole on the side of your face. People are gonna talk shit. I'm sorry if you were that offended by just people making jokes or whatever, because no death threat on the internet's actually real, unless of course you're posting a picture of Muhammad. Other than that, there's no fucking death threats on the internet are real. So I'm sorry if you cannot handle it, get the fuck offline. This is what the internet's been since 1994.
Right. And these people are coddled anyway. And that's the whole thing. It's just okay, why would you do that to your kid? Why would you're making things worse for them? What?
I don't know, because you mentioned how it's being so pushed in our face and pushing our faces and whatnot. I remember this is back in 2017 or 2018. I was on X, at the time it was Twitter, and I was just having a conversation with somebody about my car. I was talking about a time where I'd driven to an anime convention, and then on the drive there, it was a 6-hour drive. My car's tranny dropped. I had to scrap the car the whole night. I was literally just talking about the time I had. And when I typed that, when I sent the message on Twitter saying, I had my tranny drop, it gave me the little pop-up. This is in 2017, 2018. It gave me a little pop-up. Are you sure you want to post this? It could be offensive. I'm like, it took me a sec to register what the fuck was offensive about it. And it's like, oh, right, tranny. YouTube or Twitter just picked out the word tranny as if it was an offensive term when I was talking about technically my transmission. But everyone's always said tranny dropped when talking about that, happening to their car. It was
or my tranny broke.
Yeah, right. And the first celebrity I remember this being a big deal about was Cher back in I was maybe in 6th grade or so. It was probably around 2005 or whatever. And Cher's daughter, who was already an adult at the time, if I recall, decided to change to a dude. And I remember watching the news coverage of it. We were all making jokes. We were all making fun of it. But mostly we were making fun of it because dude, he was so fat. She turned into a he, and the he was fat and ugly. Damn, you went through the links of changing your gender and all that, and you still couldn't become good looking when you got Mama Cher money. What the fuck?
It's just bad. I'll show you this before I go on to our next segment. I'll bring Ricky in here. Rob, remember we watched the film Monkey Man, right? We did kind of the whole review of this one, I think about a week or two ago. And I thought about this as I was gathering for this story. And if you remember, in Monkey Man, there is this group of, I'm not even making this up when I say this, I know it sounds stupid, indigenous transgender Indian warriors that are in the film that train our protagonists to, I guess, quite literally learn how to fight. And there's this whole thing about them invoking their ancient village for war. It's stupid. It's a stupid movie. It's one of the dumbest movies we've seen this year. However, when I was doing research on the group, they call it the Hira in India, I looked back and there's a name of a god that these people worship. So I've gone in about Hinduism before, not in great detail, but I have talked about this. So apparently this transgender community that's in India worship this god, the god, quote unquote, this Hindu goddess. It was called Barucha Mata, whatever her name is. But here's what I found very, very interesting and probably somewhat disturbing. It also could go on to show you why maybe this is happening at such an alarming rate. This one says here that that this false god from Hinduism ordered the men of this community, who are transgender, by the way, to build a shrine to her and worship her at the place, and proclaim, and this is what they believe, that if a naturally emasculated man wearing women's clothing worships her, that they will achieve her blessings and find abode to her after death. So I've gone into detail about this a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about the Nephilim in our society back on the Bible Lens podcast, kind of to carry this over. So the reason why this Indian tribe does this is because they think that by worshiping this false god, that they're going to get essentially blessings, rewards, and an abode after death. Is it out of the realm of possibility that we're seeing a similar thing happening with Hollywood, why so many of their kids are now just happen to be turning trans because they think that maybe there's something is a little bit more demonic going on here. Maybe there is something a little bit more sinister happening behind the scenes. If everyone, it's majority men to female that this is happening. It's not really the other way around. That's the exception of like Cher's kid and whatnot. But this is what we're seeing. Is there probably a little bit more something to this? I'll go with Mark and we'll wrap it around.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it so much connects to that. I just think that's indicative of just how fucked up man can be, like mankind can get. You can find that across so many different societies and everything. And I think that's part of it. But that is pretty fascinating that they would do that, for sure. But, honestly, I just think it's about like attacking the next generations of human beings, to make us more docile, to make us more ineffective when it comes to governing and being governed, because I mean, look, the future, if these kids are going to be running around like this that we're raising today, having all of these identity crisis and stuff, like how are we going to manage? Like how's the world going to like manage? You know what I mean? It's like we're going to be begging, or they're going to be begging to be controlled by people who are actually able to handle responsibility and things like that. Like now you got to cater to everyone's sensibilities. Everyone's so damn sensitive about everything. You can't even take a joke anymore. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I'm offended by that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a joke, not a dick. Don't take it so hard.
Yeah, right? It's like it's essential to have a sense of humor in this life. To be able to have a little bit of insight when you're talking to someone, to look into their eyes and see a little bit of intent. It's like you can't even do that anymore, man. We have our sensibilities dictated to us, and I think that a lot of that is what's happening, because if you have a man or a boy who's growing up to be a man and he cuts his junk off, and he wants to be a girl, it's like, what the fuck, bro? What are we doing here? Like, how are you raising? Yeah, so it's very alarming.
Yep, like I said, it feels like, I think everyone who's paying attention to this, it feels like there's something more sinister behind what's happening here. I don't think anyone is under the guise that somehow this is an organic transition that a lot of these kids are going under, especially considering who their parents are.
No, and
I don't know that anyone believes it's an organic transition. No pun intended about the transition part, but no one believes it's organic. It's all absolutely for clout. It's for likes. Like when you've got somebody like what's her name from the Halloween movies that used to be hot, now is a fucking train wreck, sitting out there talking about how her daughter or her son or whichever it was is now the opposite gender and all that. Oh, they're under constant death threats. Like, no, you're saying this because it makes you look good to say it. These individuals have, do you remember when what's her name, the famous actress went to Vietnam and there was the American
Fonda. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, with Jay Fonda and the American POWs tried, like, it was the first time they'd seen an American woman in God knows how long. They tried to get a message to her, and she fucking told the Viet Cong, hey, just so you know, they were trying to use me. Like these Hollywood celebrities have always had this air about them of, oh, look what I can do to help the world with my presence and with my money, despite the fact that I've never actually done anything my entire life that's worth of note beyond play pretend for a few $1 million per flick. Yeah, it's very, very easy for them to grandstand and be on their moral high horse about doing the right thing and being on the right side of history. I think it is a stretch to say this ties to some hokey balokey god from some Hindu religion. You take a Christian, drop them in the middle of the Amazon rainforest and try to explain Jesus Christ to the natives. That's going to sound just as hokey balokey as
just like they ate Joe Biden's uncle.
Say that again.
Just like they ate Joe Biden's uncle.
Right, yeah, just exactly. Like, no, at the end of the day, it's social programming. These celebrities are trying to socially program us without knowing that they've been socially programmed, when the real world America, or even just the real world in general, middle America, is looking at this being like, bro, you guys are in a fucking cult and we can see it, but nobody that's in a cult realizes they're in a cult, or at least 9 times out of 10 they don't. So,
and remember
And
what
also,
Steven
too-
Spielberg did? Like Steven Spielberg, like a couple years ago, said he encouraged his stepdaughter to basically, like be a prostitute. Like there's very weird. There's some very fucking weird, like, hey, I'm virtuous about social policy or something, or not even social policy, social views that are so progressive. They're, you could argue they're damaging. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, well, that's how you find yourself. It's like, in what healthy manner is that even remotely true? So
Healthy.
because if
no,
you're gonna get ran through,
that's what I mean, though.
You
And
may as well at least get paid to do so.
by the way, this is a trend that I've seen with my generation, being open to everything, because you don't want to be viewed as conservative or judgmental. So you are permissive towards everything. Everything's okay as long as you're fulfilled and you want to. And it's like, okay, at some point you have to say, no, that's too far. No, I'm not going to be part of a society that endorses this. No, and I'm saying this as somebody who very much used to be left of center. And I'm just creeping towards the middle because I don't really know where to go.
There was a time period where I'm not going to speak for everyone, but there was definitely a time period where I think generally we were just more liberal with things. Like, hey, if you're going to do that, fine, like whatever, no problem. And now society has gone so far the other direction. They quite literally forced us to put our foot down on quite a few issues here because they just keep pushing it. And it's the whole, give them an inch and they'll take a mile thing. But,
well, we were more liberal because liberal means free. That's what it means. So like to be a constitutionalist, to agree with the God-given rights that are in the Constitution, you would by definition technically be a liberal. The thing is, liberal has a very twisted meaning now. Like liberal in terms of the actual definition of the word is very different than what it means in modern day politics. Like if you want to say, oh, Leon, you sound like a liberal because I want to talk about fucking freedom to own guns, like technically that would be a liberal position because it's my fucking right and freedom to do as such. Like use the word correctly. Instead, they've twisted the word liberal into a perversion of what it actually means.
Yep. Hey, my motto is always this, if someone wants to take your guns, they're usually planning on doing something that would you require to shoot you in the first place. So, but Rick, I know you didn't get to talk much during that whole thing because I'm going to let you go on about this topic here. So I'm going to say this guy's name as closely as I possibly can. What is his Ncuti Gatwa? Is that his name?
Ncuti Gatwa.
Ncuti Gatwa. Okay.
Ncuti. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Ncuti Gatwa, I believe.
Okay. Well, since we're on the topic of
kind of like Mark,
I guess we can
Mark
start
with
with
a C, it's Shitty with an N.
So this guy, who I guess is the new Doctor Who, and I'm gonna assume that he's only Doctor Who because he's gay and he's black. Is that am I in the ballpark there about why
you
this
hit the
happened?
nail on the head, buddy. Batting 1,000.
Might have something to do with it, yeah.
You are definitely in the ballpark there.
So he went viral this week because he says that white mediocrity gets celebrated while black people have to be absolutely flawless to get half that praise. And I'm pretty sure he knows everything about flawless and fabulous and all that good stuff. So the new Doctor Who and sex education star Ncuti Gatwa, well, I'm assuming I'm pronouncing his name correctly, say that black people have a pressure to be excellent that is disproportionate to white people. The 31-year-old actor has noticed that white mediocrity is being celebrated, which is a luxury that does not exist for black people since they have to be absolutely flawless. I guess this is just what Doctor Who does now. Like with the last 8 years, have just been them putting one virtue signaling actor after another in hopes that people are going to go watch their stuff, only to watch ratings plummet. Am I still in the ballpark there?
You are absolutely in the ballpark. You're like hitting grand slams here.
I literally slam
we have another visitor in the background.
Travis Darno over here.
Who in the world? Oh, damn it! Here we go. Of course, I say black people, and then this guy shows up. How's it going, MSK? You're muted, by the way. So
just follow the law, everybody.
Oh no, I knew. Sorry. You're talking about slams. I mean, at least you can make them, other than the WNBA, which makes no buckets at all. Actually,
no. I don't want.
Like I don't know. I read this a while ago. This reminds me of those like have you been on YouTube and you scroll through the shorts, and then you know how they allow the conservatives at the colleges to debate the college kids, and they say that exact same thing. It's just reversed a little bit. The white person, Mexican person, always destroys them in it, and no one gets the motto. It's like you were just told a lie.
And now we have, and now like 10 years after college, they're still regurgitating the same talking points here. But
same thing.
This is what Gatwa has to say here. It says, we're trained to be like, if I'm not exceptional, I won't be loved. Certainly, I was thinking, I think that was my thing. So yeah, I was thinking, I think I'm just learning, I'm just learning that now. He said, you are allowed to be loved. You don't have to be excellent or aspire to that term. Black excellence, like what the hell? He said, there's so much white mediocrity that gets celebrated and black people who have to be absolutely flawless to get half of that anyway. So I'm slowly trading myself out of that, thinking, no shit, you deserve love just for existing. Oh God, this is literally the Justice Smith speech from that Negroes movie.
If you have to train yourself out of it, that means it wasn't real to begin with. He's defeating his own argument while he's talking. I think he's too fucking retarded to even realize it.
Yeah. And apparently this is the first black Doctor Who that they've ever had. Is that true,
technically, we have had a black female Doctor appear in her series.
Oh Lord.
Timeless Children.
Yep. Because
I don't even like Doctor Who, and I know this. That's how much that dumbassery blew up the internet.
Oh yeah, but I stopped watching after her first series because she was Jodie Whittaker, the first female Doctor. We must treat her with reverence. That's why we must always say her.
And then to make matters worse, he was talking about, I guess, the show Sex Education, which I've never heard of. I'm assuming it's a show on another network. He says here that he was approached by a producer, a warning about ad-libbing during the show, the dialogue, because the producer was afraid that it wouldn't connect with white viewers. I wonder if that's exactly what he said. That's how he's interpreting it. And he says that there were producers coming to me like, this ad-lib, I don't feel like white people will understand it. And it was like, it's not for white people to understand. There are many white people on the show for white people to understand. I just want this other group of people to understand Eric, and that's what I want you to do. It's like, and they got that, and we were constantly learning that on the job. So this is your
fired
next,
him immediately
Dr.
after
Who.
that.
Doctor Who streams on May 10th, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll go ahead and start off with Rick. You are the Doctor Who enthusiast here. What are your thoughts on Ncuti Gatwa, whatever his name is?
Ncuti Gatwa.
Something African.
Gatwa.
Yep.
There's your booty bada.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, first, I will say that where are the examples? Where are the examples of this white mediocrity that is being celebrated? Okay, I'll grant you Taylor Swift. All right, you get that.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from her,
but then again, they got Beyonce too, so you can count that one out pretty quickly.
Well, okay, that cancels each other. That cancels, that cancels the other. Yep. Apart from that, what are the examples? I'm reminded of when Alan Ritchson, I believe, said that the cops get away with murder all the time.
Oh yeah.
And he couldn't, he couldn't provide us with any examples. We just take his word for it. Same here with Ncuti Gatwa, where like white mediocrity is celebrated versus black excellence. So he needs to provide the examples. Second, I hate to break it to Mr. Gatwa, but you were hired because you were black. You were not hired and gay, apparently. He's decided that he wants to face off against the villains in Doctor Who by twerking them to death. He's literally going to do a twerk. So he's I hate to say diversity hire, but apparently he is a diversity hire. And I said this when Jodie Whittaker was cast as the first female Doctor, because little girls needed to aspire to be a fictional character on a television show. They needed a heroine to look up to. I said that once they hired a woman, the next person had to be a minority. It had to be an Arab or a black man or some other minority, because they could not go back to a white person. That would be returning to racism. Third, why do we really care what this man says? The show is going to get canceled. It will get canceled probably in his tenure. Why? Because when she appeared, the ratings didn't go up. It actually went down. So many people kept saying once they hired her that, oh, I'm going to watch Doctor Who now because we finally got a female doctor. We've been crying for a female doctor for 50 years, which we hadn't, but we finally got a female doctor. So I'm going to be watching. You know what happened? No one watched. Yeah, the ratings went up initially, but then they started going down. And the same thing's going to happen with Ncuti Gatwa. The ratings might be high, although they weren't. I think his Christmas special was one of the lowest ones, but it's still going to go down. And when the show's canceled during his tenure, he's going to say, oh, it's because I was black. No, it's because the stories were terrible. It's because you've made the Doctor into a joke. You don't take any of this seriously. You've gone out of your way to offend the old fans. You're not building up any new fans. So, like, no one's going to be interested.
And SK, I feel like that this is a card that you probably hold in your home somewhere. Can you confirm or deny?
PSA graded. It's a 10.
Oh yeah, that's a valuable one. What's your take on it, sir?
Oh, I'll be honest here. Doctor Who's for nerds.
Thank you.
The biggest thing about Doctor Who that you hear now is just randomly whoever they choose as the doctor is coming out saying some, oh, white people, straight white. I'm tired. Like, it happens in the gaming industry too. Why every time these articles appear, if you actually read the substance of it, it's always about a white straight male or a white anything. It's like, talk about living rent free in people's heads, man. Holy crap. Did a white person sort of shit in this person's cereal? Did they actually just go and take your girl or something? Like, holy crap, man. I mean, he legit let white people live rent free in their head. Like, he literally said nothing white related was ever treated with like the same mediocrity that black levels have. Did the Marvels just come out with a white woman and it completely failed and people just called it shit? Madam Web just came out last month. They called that ass. What? You would have to be not living in reality to understand these things. These aren't real people. They're just talking from a teleprompter.
Well, I'm just curious, what black excellence can he point to? The American Society of Magical Negroes, the Blackening, the Book of Clarence.
American Fiction won an Oscar. Hey, look at that.
Yeah, but that was ridiculing the perception.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Very good.
Maybe 12 Years of Slavery. I love that movie.
Actually, okay, fun fact about that movie. So 12 Years a Slave, when it won the Academy Award, half the voters in the Academy later on went out to came out to say they had never even seen the film. They just felt like they had to give it the nomination.
It was an important film.
Yeah,
exactly.
And remember that one short, just you can type it up, Eminem Grammy short. He literally said the reason why he's not going to the mini awards because the awards that people vote on in like the crowd where they have like the text numbers and some BS like that. He literally said the award is already chosen. What you're doing is worthless. What is the point for all this stuff? I don't get it. It's just a bunch of like people just looking for acceptance. He feels like, oh, if I say this, then that'll secure my contract for 3 years. Let's be honest here. Like, why would anyone be saying these things? It's just, and that's the thing is, why does he care what white people like? If white movies are not as celebrated as black movies, I mean, the best movies were created by white people. He wouldn't really have a job if they're using that logic.
Look, I'm willing to bet every dollar in my bank account that this guy's banging a white dude. Like, I'm just gonna go out and say it. He feels like exactly the type of person.
Wait, is he banging the white dude, or is he getting banged by the white dude?
Either or.
It is like Don Lemon, who said that white people or white men were the greatest threat, and he went off and married a white man.
His husband's a white man, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe they are.
Yep, his husband is the master.
Black women like that too.
Oh, gosh.
I pointed that out a long time ago. A lot of black activists, black women, they're getting that pipe from white guys. That's what it is. Yeah.
Apparently,
I've never watched Doctor Who. I have nothing to say here. I think it's stupid and lame, but here's the thing: when your writing is not good, when you don't have engaging characters, when you say shit like this, you blame it on race, you bring up racism to divert from the fact that you're writing, you're focused on the story, all of the things that make any kind of like theatrical art good, the theater, movies, TV, whatever. That's lacking. Like, that should be apparent. So, and when it's not, you have to use things like this to distract people. It's like the playbook's getting old now. We're about a decade into this bullshit, and everybody else is waking up. I've been awake for almost that long, maybe 7 or 8 years, but it's like, okay, now it's like, okay, we've seen this play out time and time and time again. We're sick of it.
Well,
Do a better job at writing or shut the fuck up.
First, the quality in the writing for Doctor Who has been going down since at least the Matt Smith era, who was a white guy, and then Peter Capaldi was a white guy, and Jodie Whittaker, who was a white woman. So the quality of the writing has been going down, and I'm honestly surprised that Ncuti Gatwa was not celebrating those segregated West End performances where they literally said it was a black-only show, where only black people could go to the theater on certain days, because segregation is a wonderful thing now, apparently. And they even embarrass themselves because they meant to say, was it a blackout? They accidentally printed out blacks out. So, so like it made it sound like no blacks could be allowed.
Isn't that like a skit from doesn't that sound like a skit from Seinfeld or like?
Hell yeah, I wrote that. $1 million idea.
It could be. I mean, it does sound like it, but this is what actually happened. Because they needed safe spaces. Because apparently, black people will be very uncomfortable if they go see A Midsummer Night's Dream or My Fair Lady. They will panic if they're surrounded by white people.
Okay, hold on. We got 3 black people on the panel. I gotta ask, what fucking black person is gonna see A Midsummer Night's Dream? Or any of you guys going to the fucking Broadway to see
hold on. Before we answer that, you're assuming black people have money? Bro, that's why Black Panther did so well. They got money for like one movie a year. You can't afford out that welfare. What the heck?
I'm Mexican.
Gentleman of the arts. That's who happens to be black.
Black people don't work. The hell you talking about?
Rick, let me be very, very clear here. You're the outlier for like almost every discussion we ever have. So don't use it as like the measuring stick.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. Before I met she was my ex, but I told her, she's like, "You're black, right?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "I have a job. I have my own place," and she was like, "What?" She literally looked at me like that was foreign, like that was not a thing. I was like, "Okay." Good Lord, women these days. Life was better when women didn't have opinions.
Segregation. We need to not segregate based on race. We need to segregate based on sex. Like women over there, dudes over here. You get to mix, once a week, every year. Treat like Rumspringa.
Well, I mean, she probably didn't think you had a job because in order to have a job, you have to have an ID. Apparently, black people don't have the access to have an ID. That's why they can't vote. And voter ID laws are racist. So.
Yeah, the same thing happened in I forgot which state. It was They said that they don't have to teach black people how to read or write to pass school. Like, what are you going to school for? What are you even going to school for at all at that point? What the fuck?
Wait a minute. We can't assume that this individual is his partner. It doesn't say that.
Is that a significant other?
All I'm saying is that I'm not surprised. I'll just put it that way. And they're going to see Beyonce together. So, I mean, that only jacks up the possibility that, the likelihood.
This is how you can tell it's fake. Don Lemon literally said multiple bad things about black people, white people, or people are like, right? Look, came out. He got married to a white dude. He literally said white people are the worst. Blah blah. All the code speak. He literally married a white guy.
But then again, I mean, let's be fair here. If a white guy was taking you up the butt every single night, would you not say the white people are the biggest threat in society?
Oh, I'm just saying, like, these people are either doing this because they actually believe this shit, or they're doing it is something you have to thing called getting the bag. I think people are just getting the bag. Like, too many instances are showing these people aren't keeping the same energy. Like that Boston mayor. Boston mayor was going out of their way to just shit on white people. Kind of find out she's married to a white guy with 3 kids. This is fake. She's just getting a bag. Just say I got on my knees and I got on I started choking on Satan's fat cock in my mouth.
Well, I mean, we'll say that Kamala Harris is married to a white man. Ketanji Brown is married to a white man.
As she should.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. I don't care.
But these people promote division. See, the thing is, these people promote division between the races, and yet, how they live is contradictory to what comes out of their fucking mouth on their fucking primetime news shows. Yeah,
they actually promote like anti-white hate rhetoric. Meanwhile, actually dating, marrying, having children with white. There has to be fake. They're just getting money. That's it. Like, there's no other way to describe it.
They're also influencing. They're also influencing the ignorant. That's what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's like they're getting paid to lead people astray. And this is the reason why it's so important for black people who do have some common sense, who get on a platform, I don't care how big or how small, to push back on that narrative. Because right now we are the fucking punchline of the world. And to some degree, I feel like they are making a case for the extermination of black people. Like, I read what I see on social media. You have people consistently questioning why do we even need to have black people in the world? Because there are people out here who believe that we are bottom feeders, we're just parasites on humanity. You know what I mean? And a lot of that comes from the fact that we're being manipulated into believing our own stereotypes. So we act against them, and people are feeling more and more justified in their hatred of us.
It doesn't help, especially in Hollywood, how it seems to be our voice, quote unquote, the voice of the black community is being essentially propped up. There's a whole lot of gay men. You notice that recently, how that's been like the trend over the last several years. There's like one gay man after another, who, keep in mind, is probably married or dating a white guy as he's saying these comments as well. That's like our representation. So it's like, yeah, when those people who are representing us, no wonder everyone else has an extremely negative view towards us right now.
Well, who's calling into question the need for black men? Because, like, can you imagine the NFL without black men? How fucking boring that would be. Of course we need black men.
Oh, wait a minute, Leon. Wait a minute. We do not have enough black MLB players. All right, we need more black baseball players.
That was the other one, right? It was like, well,
player.
it was like, well, they're from Cuba, so they're not really black. So that's
I
the
know,
other one.
no, I know.
But once again,
that's why it's a
you guys
joke.
know,
Like,
I do
don't
talk
care.
about my son the way that I do, because I've talked about this so many times. It's like he walks through, the world, and his friends do, and they feel like shit, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like every kid, every human being deserves to feel like they belong, they should be alive. They have a right to live, at least. Like this jackass is talking about, I should be loved. Nobody wants to be like, why are you begging to be loved? You should just want to be free to live, to exist. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. It's like this becomes dangerous.
Did you see the Magical Negro movie? You did review that one, didn't you?
Go fuck no, bro. It's like, I only got one. Listen, I only got one life, and I am not spending time on something that I know is terrible. I'm not doing it, bro.
I will say, Mark Jacob made us watch it.
Oh yeah, because I really had to twist his arm.
I didn't have to watch it. I watched
had to watch
King Arthur.
I tell everybody, after She-Hulk, I had a revelation. I am no longer spending any of my time on shit that I know is bad. If I know it's bad. Now, if I go into the movie thinking it's going to be a good movie and it turns out to be a bad movie, then you're going to see my righteous anger. You know what I mean? But I am not going to go. Too. I'm not spending money on something. You know what I mean? I could be dead tomorrow. I'm not going to spend an hour and a half of my time watching some shit that I know is terrible.
Now, I will remind the black members here in the panel.
I'm white.
Black
I do have to
remind
remind them that you have to vote for Joe Biden, because if you don't, you ain't black. All right.
See,
well, that's what happened. He voted for Trump, and now he's white. That's exactly what happened.
Hey, I'm just saying. He literally gave you the game away. He literally said, "I will not consider you black if you don't vote for me." Like, how is that not the most eye-opening thing ever? I agree with the jungle part and sending your kids to a black public school, because black kids tend to be like, all gang violence and drugs. But the voting thing is true. I agree. Black people begin.
That's where we draw the line here on this show, right? but real quick, because Rick can attest this. He did see the movie. Hold on, just real quick, Orange. Because Rick, when we saw that movie, the very end part where Justice Smith, who's another gay black male who Hollywood loves, shocker, went on this whole
biracial.
Well, yeah, just like the guy who wrote and directed that is biracial, but he's talking. He's
contaminated,
black
guys.
So. Oh gosh. but no, like in the same.
Which one. You decide which race is contaminant. There you go.
But like in the ending of that movie, he went on this whole diatribe about, I just want to exist and I don't want to live to make white people happy. It was like, well, then move out of California. Then like it's not that hard. Like,
especially the nation wanted to kill him.
Yes.
America wanted to kill him, and I'm thinking America doesn't even care who you are. You're a very boring person. Nobody would care.
Dude, I've seen him in like 2 or 3 other movies, and in every movie he's always the worst fucking part of it.
Like, Justice Smith is probably my least favorite actor in Hollywood. Now, I think he's even topped Seth Rogen. That's how bad he is at this point.
Someone once described him as the white Michael Cera or the black Michael Cera, and now I can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Orange.
The biggest problem when it comes to all the identity politics, and it's not even just identity politics, when you got people like this Djibouti Wagata or whatever his name is, Wakanda Forever.
That's better.
Whatever his name is, I don't give a fuck. But when he goes and says shit like that, and people respond to it in whatever way possible, it only reinforces what I have been saying for years. Every group, LGBT, political, whatever, is always going to be judged by their worst representatives, because their worst representatives are the loudest representatives. And it goes towards what Mark was saying, because black people are judged by the stereotypes because, well, all these influential people are fucking saying this shit, and it it makes people think some pretty stupid shit. But when it comes to this guy and him saying, or when the crew and the directors and stuff are saying, look, you need to tone this stuff down because, well, white people may not understand it. I don't give a fuck what white people think or care or whatever. I'm sorry. You would be fired. If I was the owner of that studio, I would be like, I'm sorry, he's fired. Get a different freaking actor to play the Doctor. We're going back to scratch. He's not going to be paid for that shit, because I am not going to tolerate a racist on this freaking studio. Because one, we are not making it specifically for black people or white people. We're trying to be inclusive, yes, but if these assholes are going to make it so fucking difficult, then you know what? Screw it. We're going back to formula. Because
now we should.
This is.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, George. Sorry.
This is the reason why entertainment has been failing. It's because everybody wants to push this stuff, but they don't, or unfortunately, general moviegoers don't listen to the stuff that's being said by these people, which is pretty freaking heinous.
Well, I would.
And that's why a lot of us are the ones that are not supporting it.
I'd like to point out that in, I believe, the previous Doctor Who special, when you had David Tennant come back as not the 10th Doctor, even though he was, you did have the black transgender female be a major character in all this. So I don't know if that would qualify, and the character was biracial too. So I don't know if that qualifies as that white mediocrity that he's going on about. I'm perplexed as to why he's going on about this. I guess he feels that because he's a... Oh, yes, go ahead.
In response to that, as this was the whole bitch of it all, or the whole topic of it all, the fact that this dude is saying, well, black people need to be excellent in order to be noticed. It's like, honestly, there are some shitty ass movies out there that have black people in it, and which are actually done pretty well. There are some movies that have gone under the radar from black people that have actually done pretty well. I mean, for many years, I had not even seen Training Day because it's just I've never really cared about corrupt cops. Then I watched the freaking movie, and it's like, you know what? Holy shit, that's actually a pretty good movie. Then I started paying attention to Anton Fuqua. Dude's made some pretty good freaking movies. And the thing is, the wonderful thing is, yes, race does play a part in his movies, but it is done in a way that doesn't bash you over the head with it.
I will say this: if you want,
why are his movies good, but then then there are these other black people like this Wakanda Forever guy. I'm not going to try saying
Ryan
his name,
Coogler?
but
Ryan
whatever
Coogler,
his name is,
he's terrible.
Yeah, that whatever. But he makes this shit, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested. Well, then you're racist and you're bigoted, and it's like, why?
I mean, Fruitvale Station.
You're not going to watch his black vampire movie that's not Blade that's coming out in a couple of years?
Imagine that.
I have no
black
idea
person
what it
doing
is,
a
man.
vampire movie, sucking off another white man for blood, bro.
But his Creed movies were bad. I mean, Ryan Coogler has not really been a great director. And I'll say the same thing about Spike Lee. Spike Lee has not made a good film since 2002. It's called 25th Hour. Okay, seriously, he's a talented filmmaker, but he's allowed politics to kind of get in the way of his storytelling, and that's the whole thing. I do not even like Antoine Fuqua, but I will agree he does not let politics get in the way of telling an entertaining story because that's his job.
Didn't he do the Equalizer movies?
Yeah, those were not a fan.
Well, I like them. I like them. And what excellence?
I love the Equalizer trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't big on the second one, but what black excellence is he going to point to? The Woman King? Is that going to be like a hallmark of great cinema?
He's no representative of anything black. He's about gay shit. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like that's what they do. This is what Black
Planet
Lives
of the
Matter
80s.
was.
Sorry.
This is what Black Lives Matter was. You know what I mean? It's like they hijack black and they hold it in front of you, but it's really about gay shit. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when
Like
Black
say-
Lives Matter first came out, they said they were against the traditional family. They're against the patriarchy, you know. But what they do is they fool the whole world into thinking that they're representing black people. That's why I say that real black people have to be able to get louder about this because we are being grossly misrepresented here. You know, these people are not us.
I'll give a quick correction there. You said when they first came out. No, they still have that on their website to this very day. So they have never changed that position at all.
Well, the last time I checked, it wasn't there because I tried to show it to my family and they called me a liar. So when I went there to show it to them, it was no longer on the website because they were getting called on that for a long time. And they took it down because people were saying this is what you really stand for. You know, but these people are traitors because they play towards the weak among us because they want us fighting one another. That's what they want. You know, and a lot of people are doing that. That's why I say black people have become the punchline of the world because everybody, no matter what stream I go on these days, you know, it's like it always comes down to that. What these hypocritical black people are doing based upon fuck faces like this who are not black. You know what I mean? But like you were saying, because they speak louder than the rest of us and the media gives them their megaphone, this is the reason why people think they are representative of us.
And let's be honest, they give them that bigger megaphone, partly because, they're black, quote unquote, but they're also LGBTQ, and that's really the primary factor.
That's
they
what
try
they
to
are.
use that in.
Well, all I know is that all I know is that punctuality is a sign of white supremacy. So black people cannot be punctual anymore.
Oh, dude, that's why I show up to every stream like 20
TP
minutes
time.
early just to prove how racist as fuck I am. So,
well, speaking of racist people, let's jump over to Molly Ringwald here for a second because she also came out and said something pretty dumb as well.
I love racist people. Racism.
I need
Hell
a good
yeah.
laugh.
But hold on a second. Like, keep this in mind for some of you older people out here. Mark, I'm not throwing you under the bus here particularly, but some of you older people out there, this was your crush for the entire 1980s. Like this woman. So this is your fault. I'm just going to say that right there. So here's
sorry,
I am a proud Generation Xer. Yes,
the basket case.
Basic fucking bitch.
I just heard like 3 people talking at once. I didn't hear anything anyone said. So let's go ahead and just play this video here real quick. This is Molly Ringwald talking about how, you know, films these days need to be more diverse.
Oh, hell no.
Ones that she made famous for. So here you go.
Those movies, the movies that, you know, I'm so well known for, they were very much of a time, you know, and if you were to remake that now, I think it would have to be much more diverse and it would have to be, you know, you couldn't make a movie that white. No, those movies are really, really very white, and they don't really represent, you know, what it is to be a teenager in a school in America today. I don't think so. You know,
imagine ripping off David.
But I think that they were really great. You know.
Hold on, one second. I'll finish
And
up.
they were of that time, and they really represented John Hughes's experience, and that's what he was writing to his own personal.
Yeah, so basically she's saying that all the. Go ahead.
David Schwimmer's fucking talking points from 2 years ago because it was David Schwimmer that was like, yeah, we need to remake Friends and give it a more diverse cast because there's not enough black people and it does take place in New York. Like of all the cast members of Friends to rip off, I would rather she rip off Matthew Perry and fucking die. So,
Oh,
come on, guys, laugh.
Now, I'm curious. Would Molly Ringwald ask that Cooley High be remade with a diverse cast?
Yes. No, better yet, remake School Days with an all-white cast. That'd be an even funnier adventure, especially if you mentioned Spike Lee earlier.
We definitely need to have a white family in Good Times because obviously there must have been some down there.
Yeah, but no, this is
it's just the dumbest
Molly
shit in the world, man. You know, like as you know, somebody who was around back then, you know, a proud Generation Xer, you know, I can say that movies like The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Outsiders, you know, Young Guns, you know, all of those shows back in movies back in the 80s that highlighted what they called the Brat Pack back then.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they were almost all white, but see what they don't understand is that it was about character. You know what I mean? It's like, I always say you can tell a lot about diversity, not by what's on the screen, but by the audience that it attracts. You know, I was in that audience. I love Young Guns. I love The Outsiders. You know, my son recently watched The Outsiders, and it blew his mind. He loved it so much because what they're talking about themes that transcend race. Just because you have white actors on screen doesn't mean that a black person or an Indian person or whatever can't relate to the pressures that come with being an outsider, a misfit, a jock, a criminal, you know, these things. You know, and you got that from Ferris Bueller as well. You know, it's like, here's this little smart ass kid, you know, running around in the city and all that stuff. It's like, come on, man. It's like, that doesn't have to be race specific, you know. So she is an actor, not a great one, but she's an actor, not a writer. So why she's even responding to this in that, like, she wrote it or she knows what it's about is a mistake in itself. You know, she doesn't know what the motivation for those movies were, and she clearly doesn't know the appeal of those movies. You know,
well, there's a couple of things. First off, if she by that statement says that, you know, this is from John Hughes's background, all the movies that were made here that he was influencing or, you know, made, they would be suburban and they would be predominantly white. So it's the people that he grew around with. It's not that he was deliberately excluding minorities. It is just the people that were around. Most neighborhoods tend to be homogenous, right or wrong. They tend to be homogenous. So it's not like he was saying, "Oh no, we can't have black people, or we can't have Asians." Second, I never had an issue with watching The Breakfast Club or 16 Candles and thought, oh, I can't relate. Believe me, I related to one character in The Breakfast Club, and I think everyone would know which one. So it's not like,
Criminal?
No, of course not.
Anthony Michael Hall. Jesus.
Yes, Anthony Michael Hall. Yes,
come on, it's so obvious.
Yes, I was the captain of the academic decathlon team.
I was going to say Molly Ringwald, but yeah, that's cool. Whatever.
No, I should have related to Emilio Estevez, who is the only Hispanic there. Just for saying. But
that's right.
Yeah,
Martin Sheen, is a Mexican. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why. Well, you're saying that if they were remade today, they would be diverse. All right. First off, I don't know why anyone would dare remake something like 16 Candles or The Breakfast Club. It is almost like remaking, you know, The Sandlot. People love The Sandlot, and it was predominantly
Rick, when has that ever stopped Hollywood? We're not gonna remake something because people like it. When has that ever stopped Hollywood? Ever?
Yeah. And let me say too, the Breakfast Club. You know, for the younger generation, they know the Breakfast Club from the radio show. You know, Charlemagne the God and DJ Envy. You know, Young Guns, Warren G. He reenacted that at the beginning of Regulate. You know, Regulators. Like, black people have been attracted to these things forever. You know, so for her to say that is a fucking slap in the face. You know, to all of us. You know, especially Gen Xers. You know, who grew up loving that stuff. It's like, you know, she can say that, oh, it was very white because it was a very white cast. You know, like I know my sister was just talking about how she loved Friends. You know, when she was growing up. You know, she loved Dirty Dancing, as a matter of fact. I used to always tease her about that. Love Patrick Swayze. You know, so it's like we were always included, man. And that's the part that always gets me, when they act like somehow we were a guest in this. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. It's like, you know,
it's like what they're saying is, it's like what they're saying is what? So black people never liked John Hughes movies? Is that what you're saying? Because there wasn't enough people in the film that looked like us? Is that what they're? Because I mean, I come from a very, very black background too, just in case you guys didn't realize. Like, my mother still loves John Hughes movies, like all of them. Absolutely loved all those films. She never once complained about the lack of black people in the movies.
Yeah, I mean,
they complain about the lack of quality in John Hughes' '90s work, but that's for a different, you know.
I mean, look, Uncle Buck.
Here's the thing, Molly, did she really think about this all the way through? I mean, really chewed it down to the bone, because the criminal, the brain, the jock, the basket case, and the princess, right? Yeah, all of them had very unlikable qualities to him. You had the freaking compulsive liar which was the basket case, which was I can't remember her real name.
Ali Sheedy.
Yeah, Sheedy. You have the freaking thinking you're better than everybody else, social structure. You also have the criminal who is always pushing shit, always doing shit and whatnot. You have the jock who freaking attacked a person, taping or ripping his skin off of his ass because the dude had a very hairy ass, assaulting a person because his father wanted to please his dad. And then you also have the brain who freaking brought a freaking gun to school, even though it was just a flare gun, and destroyed the elephant. Do you really want a black person to portray these characters, especially when a lot of these things that they did to even get in detention would actually support one of the negative stereotypes of black people throughout freaking Hollywood or throughout all of the decades? I mean, a lot of this shit you don't want, or it's like, oh, okay, so make the black person or make the criminal black. Well, there you go, racist. Make the jock black. He fucking assaulted somebody for no reason. Racist. You got the freaking nymphomaniac or compulsive liar. Make her black. Racist. You got the black person that thinks they're better than everybody. Fucking racist. And then you got the freaking brain who brought a fucking gun to school. Racist. That's a catch-22, Molly. I'm sorry.
I think that the answer to her question there, did Molly think this through? No.
And the funny thing about this is that
she really didn't.
What diversity means is not what they actually mean. It never is, because it's like, for you to say all of that stuff. I mean, Orange made actually a great point that no matter what they do, they're going to call them but when it's like, okay, but that's what a diverse character is. They can be anything. They could have any background. They could come from any family. And Hollywood still traffics in stereotypes because they want to talk about division and hatred all the time. And it's just not the case. It's not the case. You can make good movies about that. But like, here's the thing. I don't even really like John Hughes movies. My favorite ones is probably Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Uncle Buck.
Yes.
You know, that's kind of it. And I mean, his background, he was in advertising. John Hughes is one of the most cynical filmmakers who ever existed. He worked in advertising, and then he comes and makes these heartfelt sort of teen comedy movies. And it's like, okay, it's cute, but to me, I just see right through it. You know what I mean? So, and by the way, The Breakfast Club didn't relate to any one character, not one character, but it's an okay
janitor.
Movie. It's fine. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I don't
all
know.
of
So,
those characters are great characters in one way or another.
We forget
and they
that
all
16
eventually identify with each other.
Yeah, and I just want to say with Molly Ringwald's
is racist.
Comments, you know, just that I think she's just doing it to pat herself on the back. I think it's just another way to cement her legacy as one of the crowd. And hey, we need more diverse.
Relevant. Let's face it.
Exactly. And listen, I actually listened to a podcast Molly Ringwald was on in 2017 with Bret Easton Ellis, who was part of the literary Brat Pack, which was much less known than the Brat Pack of actors in the 1980s. But him and the guy who wrote Bright Lakes Big City, Jay McInerney, a few other people. But basically, I've gotten a little bit of background with what her relationship with John Hughes was. It was kind of difficult. They didn't talk for long periods of time, sort of after their working relationship ended. So I know that there are things unresolved there that might give her, a reason to say these things. But
Molly Ringwald has been kind of pushing away from what has made her best known and beloved. With 16 Candles,
Sanity?
She pushed back against that scene where she surrenders her panties to the geek as part of a comedic plot. And don't forget, was it that Asian character, Long Duck Kwan, supposed to be, the embodiment of white supremacy, apparently, because they always had a little gong playing whenever they pronounced his name. They don't get that it's supposed to be from their perspective. It's not exactly the brightest perspective. I would just say that she needs to. Well, I mean, I don't know what to say, because I still like Breakfast Club. I still like Adventures in Babysitting. I still like all those.
I think to be fair, I think we figured out that we cracked the code on We cracked the code on this episode. I think we fixed it. We can fix racism because all we have to do is get Michael B. Jordan, Jaden Smith, Zoe Kravitz, and Justice Smith together. We can make the Black Pack, and boom, racism solved.
But where's the talent? Where's the talent coming from?
Nah, keep in mind, Molly Ringwald, the first time anybody saw her was probably on Different Strokes, which got spun off into The Facts of Life. So she came, that was obviously diversity. You're talking about Gary Coleman, Todd Bridges, and Conrad Bain and Data Plato, and Mrs. Garrett, of course. So it's like she's talking a lot of nonsense because in the 80s, going into the 90s, all of these things that she was talking about, they were addressed. We actually have gone backwards as far as this is concerned, as far as this whole check boxing is concerned. We already did all of that shit, man. So
we
like
thought
said,
we
these
were
people are
making
just doing
progress.
this.
Well, we thought we were making progress in the 1980s with those television shows, with, like I said, Different World, the Cosby Show, you
Oh my
mentioned
God.
Different Strokes, and all these
Yeah.
other shows that came out during that time period. You thought that, okay, we were making progress in all the black television shows in the 90s that people still love to this day. Living Color, Martin, I can name like several,
Look,
Jamie Foxx, Steve Harvey, all
got-
these other
no,
shows.
I can go further back. There's a 227. There's Amen.
Yeah.
Those were very popular shows on NBC. Not
Yeah, see, we
just the
couldn't remake
Cosby Show.
Amen today though because Men is in the title, and you know how Hollywood feels about Men.
The Jeffersons.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Hey,
we've
them.
got a lot.
Bro,
You had a lot of
I always
diversity.
talk
We ate them, so
I always talk about All in the Family, right? Me TV, they run like the old episodes of All in the Family. If you ever want to get your mind blown, watch that show, man. It's like the rapid fire dialogue, the sophistication of the writing, is something that we're not even capable of today.
No.
Like the way those actors portrayed those characters, and it was so believable and everything. You got a lot of black people who hate All in the Family because they think Archie Bunker, oh, he's a racist. Carol O'Connor was a racist. That show was racist. It was challenging people, coming out of the civil rights era and Vietnam, the volatile, 60s and the 70s. It was challenging America to look at itself and see where it wanted to go from there, which is the reason why we got like
Mark,
the 80s and the
we talked
90s.
about this with a film we watched a few months ago, or maybe about a year ago now. Remember we watched Soul Man on a movie night, and we were talking about the context of that film, where people were saying that, oh, that film's racist because what's the guy's name? C.
Thomas Howell.
C. Thomas Howell was in blackface during the movie, and that's everyone just nailed it racist based on like that alone. It's like the film is actually mocking race relations, especially race relations as it relates to how colleges work, especially higher education, Ivy League schools, stuff like that. Like it was making a social commentary on the race relations. Yeah, people were just so infatuated with, oh, he's wearing blackface to even understand like what they were actually going for in the film itself.
Yeah, and that's a shame because we become so dumbed down now, generally speaking, as a society, that we don't even have that ability to critical think anymore, to see what exactly is being said with this portrayal. It stops at what you see. That's why everybody is counting black faces and white faces and who gets this dialogue and who gets that dialogue,
Well, you said critical thinking. I actually heard a really interesting opinion. I don't remember who it was that said it, but like I've been thinking about it for like 2 weeks since then. And that is that, and what the person stating was that critical thinking is actually bad. We don't want critical thinking. Critical thinking is what led us to all these modern day deconstructions, examinations, modern day Marxism, cultural Marxism, communism. What we want is common sense, which is the opposite of critical thinking.
Well, I mean, we've already seen diversity on television. We had an Indian Isaac Newton. We had a black Anne Boleyn. We've had a black female Viking warrior king. So what more diversity do people want?
Hold on, and I need to say something here real quick. You might be confusing critical theory with critical
No,
thinking.
critical thinking. Critical thinking
Okay.
led
Yeah,
us
I
to
completely
critical-
disagree with that. We need
see,
critical
no,
thinking.
I've been thinking about this the
That's
last couple
completely
weeks.
asinine.
People, but think about it. People who tell themselves, "Oh, I'm thinking critically," that has led us to the modern day examination and deconstruction. Because thinking critically automatically implies, "Oh, if to think critically about this,
I think
that sounds like critical theory. Yeah,
but no, I think that there is the problem. People who think that they're thinking critically are not actually thinking critically. That's where the disconnect is.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might agree with Rob. Like, I get your point. I get what you're saying, but I think critical thinking is very, very important. You know what I mean? It's like you're not going to be able to control the the conclusions that people come to and how they misuse things. This is the problem with religion. With a lot of people, they get there, they know that their religion is the truth. They know that their religion is the way, and it closes them off to everything else, and everybody else, and they become a judge to everyone that doesn't agree with them, and wars get fought and lives get lost. You know what I mean? And that's how it can be misused. And the same goes with critical thinking. Like with anything, as long as we are individuals, there is the capacity to misuse our individuality, and translate that into arrogance.
I'll correct Maurice just real quick here when it says no one cares. No, Robert Downey Jr. is still defending his performance to this day because they want it to be one of those performances where he like apologizes and like backs down and whatnot, and he's constantly has to come out and say it's like, yeah, no, look,
but
we did
he
comedy
was the
movies.
object of the joke. He was the object of the joke. That's what people are missing. And the same with Soul Man.
And people did care back then, by the way. It just wasn't as we didn't have culture war stuff going on YouTube and whatnot for people to make a big deal of it. But there were think pieces when Tropic Thunder came out about why this should or shouldn't be allowed. They were retarded then, just like they are now, but they were coming out.
Yeah, it got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. It just that was the Heath Ledger year, so no one was going to beat Heath Ledger, especially when he died. So,
which is the only reason he won that Oscar. Otherwise, he should not have won.
I don't think so, but we'll never know, really. But yeah, because they've only given the posthumous Oscar a few times. I think it's Heath Ledger and Peter Finch. I think that's it.
In acting, yes.
Heath Ledger's acting in The Dark Knight was very well. A lot of people don't like it because it doesn't follow the same thing as the comics. I'm sorry, but Nolan
incredible.
was not doing a comic based Batman. He was doing a
they tried comic-based Batman. It was Batman and Robin.
I very, very rarely do people shit on Ledger. And to be fair, I'm not shitting on Ledger. I think he did a fine job. I just think that he is incredibly his portrayal of the Joker was overhyped and overrated. It's good. I like it. It's not near the best we've ever gotten. It probably will never be the best we've ever gotten. It's a good performance that, let's be real, didn't deserve an Oscar, in my opinion.
Let me just say this, all right? Because I remember sitting in a movie theater, we're watching the trailers. The first trailer or teaser for that didn't even include any visuals. It was just voices, right? And I remember I'm sitting there. You didn't even know it with Heath Ledger, right? And you hear this voice like, it's time to unmask the back or something like that. And he's like, and he's laughing. I'm like, oh my God, like, who is that? You know what I mean? And then when it turned out to be Heath Ledger, I was like, what? It wasn't even registering for me. You know what I mean? So the level of acting that he had there to change his whole vernacular, you know what I mean? To change his whole, like the psychotic tone of his voice and everything, what he was doing with his tongue. I was like,
maybe I'm hard to please, but I feel like that should be what actors do as a fucking baseline. Like, hey, your job is to act. You should probably be able to do exactly what Heath Ledger did in that movie. But
I will say this: I liken it to and pro wrestling fans will understand this. I liken it to the Eddie Guerrero effect, where Eddie Guerrero, before he died, was a very fine wrestler, had a lot of charisma. He was better than a lot of other people around that time period. But when he died, all of a sudden he became like this larger than life like legend, like among the all time greats. And I was like, look, guys, Eddie Guerrero was good, but he wasn't like all time good. Like, let's keep things kind of in perspective here.
We might put up a statue to have an
listen, bro. Listen. I know what it's like to have my mind blown. Boba Fett, thank you. That's what it was. Starting tonight, people will die. I'm a man of my word. I remember that so clearly, man. You know what I mean? And you can say, actors are supposed to act, dancers are supposed to dance. You know what I mean? But there's levels to it. You know what I'm saying?
The way he did the mouth movements, like a child molester, literally, he talked about before he died, researching like depraved killers, child molesters, like disgusting people, but to be able to do all this weird shit with his mouth and face, and I'm sorry, like that stuff is just gross.
I'll just say, don't remake any of the John Hughes movies. There's no reason. Besides, we kind of had a remake with Vacation, the Ed Helms Vacation. That was terrible.
I never saw it.
Yeah, but all the other Vacation movies are pretty good. But don't watch Vacation. Don't remake them unless you're going to remake Cooley High and have an all Asian cast. Where Rooftop and I will join the cast.
since we're on the
'Cause he's-
realm of comic book movies, let's jump over to this one here because there was a rumor that's going around now that apparently after 5 years after announcing this film officially, they're finally going back to making a Blade movie. I know it's shocker that it's gotten to this point, but the rumor is Marvel Studios is rebooting their what's that Mahershala Ali
Mahershala.
I'm never gonna say his name
One
right.
of
I don't
the
care.
greatest living
Yeah.
actors. I am so stoked. Just like I hate
Two-time
the name
Oscar
for you,
winner.
but oh, the dude's amazing.
Yeah,
Such
for
a good fucking actor.
Terrible Moonlight.
Green
Going
Book
back
is good.
to
I
the
like
basics and killing vampires. So essentially, this is a film that they announced in 2019 at Comic-Con. So this was 5 years ago. They made that announcement that Ali was going to be the new Blade, and they had set this thing out. It's been delayed several times. I think they've only just now started to getting into the filming process of this movie because there's at least 2 or 3 times in the last 2 years where I think he's been close enough where he's almost walked off of this project altogether, and they know that if he walks, there's no way that they're going to save this thing. But there's rumors for a while that they wanted Blade to be replaced by his daughter and essentially turn Blade into a mantle, be played by some more diverse counterpart of Blade. But now they're finally getting to the point where Jeff Schneider, who's like the MCU insider here on Twitter, is saying that the film is scheduled to film this summer in Mexico. So they haven't even actually filmed this movie yet. It's been 5 years since they announced it. They haven't actually shot the damn thing yet. And now the film is going to be focused on one thing and one thing only: Blade killing vampires. So it took them 5 years to finally decide that, we're just going to make a Blade movie. We're not going to do anything stupid outside of that. But Blade will apparently start filming in Mexico this summer. It's supposed to be a film stripped down to Ali killing vampires. Oh, wow. It took you that long to figure this whole thing out. It says, it talks about it here. They were trying to do the whole Blade daughter thing and then maybe even do like a Black Knight angle to this one. Didn't work. This film has been a mess, and then this is one of the biggest reasons why people were saying up until this Deadpool trailer release, which we'll talk about here in a second, that the MCU might be on its last legs, if not it's already dead, is because these guys clearly don't know what the hell they're doing. If it's taking you this long to figure out, it's like, hey, you know what? People like the Wesley Snipes from the Science movie because he was a badass, he was killing a bunch of people. Let's do that. It took 5 years to come to this conclusion, and now we're supposed to be excited that you guys are doing what you guys should have done years ago. That this is what our hope and and I guess our admiration of the MCU is supposed to come down to. It's like, no, that this is absolutely junk. That they're finally coming to this realization. Mark, I'll start this one off of you here. Are you now excited about Blade 5? And when is this film coming out now? It's slated to come out in November of 2025. I guarantee it's going to get pushed back one more time for that film sees the light of day. It won't come out to 2026. But
are you excited? We don't want to see the light of day. He'll die.
Yeah, exactly. Are you excited for Blade now?
Hell no, I'm just not. I'm not. Listen, man, I'm still owed another Wesley Snipes one because that third one, that wasn't it. They robbed him of that last one. So
the one we put,
not even the director's cut could fix that.
Yeah. So whatever they're trying to do here, I'm not interested. I don't even think they're capable of doing a decent Blade movie at this point.
Yeah. Dude, he was 45 years old when they made this announcement. He's 50 now, and they haven't even actually shot this thing yet. So you're not going to get a series of Blade movies starring this guy at this point.
Well,
it's caused this much trouble to get this one done.
Maybe by this point they'll replace Mahershala Ali with Justice Smith, and he will be the new Blade.
You're funny.
Who could play Blade who's younger than Mahershala? Who could actually play him now?
Well,
it's the same guy they always go to, Michael B. Jordan. He's the guy. You throw him in everything.
No, quite literally, he's working on a
Killmonger.
vampire movie with Ryan Coogler that's supposed to be out in the next coming year. I'm not even making that up. That's the actual movie that they're working on right now. So quite literally, he will be playing Blade.
I don't know. Daniel Kaluuya is not a bad actor, but I just it's so dependent on who wrote the thing, who's directing him. And look, I have no hope for this. The original, that Blade movie that came out when I was a kid, I listen. I liked it growing up. I've kind of, softened on it a little bit, but those were at least entertaining, like movies, like for the character. I don't know at this point with how many delays this has gone through, how many writers, how many creative people it's sat on the desk in front of. I have no hope. Okay, like can we just don't put the show out? It's going to be a disaster.
No.
It's going to be awful. just for the fans' sake. I'm not even a fan. Like, I'm not going to watch it, no matter how good or bad it is. Just for the fans' sake, just stop. Just please.
Unless it's a
See,
sign.
I think there's an interesting dichotomy here, though, because like I am firmly in the camp of fuck the MCU. Frankly, I've been in that camp since about halfway through phase 2, if I'm being entirely honest. As a comic book fan, I have zero hopes for this movie. I don't want to see this movie. I don't want this movie to succeed, with the exception of I feel like Mahershala Ali does deserve a W. The dude is a fantastic actor who, in my opinion, does not have the recognition that in my opinion, he absolutely deserves. So I want this movie to be good purely for his career's sake. Anything else past that, though, yeah, fuck this movie. But man, do I want it to be good just because I feel like he's earned it.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Well, he's also been fighting to get that, or to get Blade back to basics, or back to the killing vampires thing. He's told them, he's like, nobody is going to watch this shit if it's not a Blade movie.
And to give him credit here,
if this stuff goes this route, I'm walking.
And give him credit here. He's been the one behind the scenes pushing back against a lot of the stupid decisions Disney's going to try to make with this franchise. And had he not pushed back in the way that he had, you would have gotten an absolute garbage Blade movie probably like 2 years ago.
He's doing the same thing Ryan Reynolds is doing, but I feel like it's taking a lot longer because he doesn't have the name recognition that Ryan Reynolds has to be able to throw his weight around.
Mm-hmm.
Love or hate Ryan Reynolds, he does at least have the box office and draw and name recognition to be able to get his way.
Does he?
Mahershala,
he's got producer money.
Does he? I've never rushed to a movie because Ryan Reynolds in it. I sometimes rush away from a movie because it's Ryan Reynolds.
Whether you've rushed
and Mahershala Ali actually has 2 Oscars.
You're racist.
I don't know. Women like Ryan Reynolds, so there you go. I mean,
but he does the same character.
Yes,
he's played the same character since You Got Your Girl in a Pizza Place.
He's still Van Wilder. Yes, he is still Van Wilder.
He's doing the same shtick, and the few times that he's tried to be different, it's failed. Like,
see, it may have failed financially at the box office and whatnot, but that doesn't mean that his talent wasn't there. He was great in Buried. He was great in as awful as that remake of Amityville was. I completely bought him slowly becoming a psychopathic husband because of demonic possession and whatnot. I believe that he was a journalist who was suffocating to death, buried in Afghanistan and buried. Like I'd like
to see him actually act, because right now he's doing the same thing. Waiting, Van Wilder, Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place. That's been him. That's been his whole career.
Even Deadpool. Even Deadpool is quippy Ryan Reynolds comedy.
Have you seen?
It's just like, oh god.
All the bashing that we've done with Justice Smith, with reason, Ryan Reynolds does the same thing. He plays the same persona. He plays himself, or a variation of himself. He's doing it with If, based just on the trailers. To be fair, I've not seen the movie, but it just seems to be playing the same character, the same persona. And he did that even in his little cameo in Hobbs and Shaw, where he played the same type.
Maybe he started talking with The Rock and realized, hey, they'll just pay us $20 million a movie just to be in the film. We don't even have to really act anymore.
And that is exactly what I think. But like that means, to me, that speaks more to the problem with Hollywood, not the problem with Ryan Reynolds. Because again, when he's given the option to flex his acting chops, I've literally never been disappointed. The problem is he's rarely given that opportunity because the studio
he's rarely sought them out.
So this is the
that could be the case. It could be a case of rarely seeking it out. That's fair.
Yeah. So this is the delineation that I have between an actor and a star. Okay, you can be both. You really can. It doesn't happen that often, but there are actors that occupy both. I don't really think Ryan Reynolds does. I think he's a star. I think he's a marquee name and face and talent. He is talented. He's incredibly comedically gifted. I personally have never really bought his acting, though. His acting chops, making me believe he's a character. Usually it's Ryan Reynolds, but that's not to take away what he brings to the table, because he does bring a skill set to the table. I just, I think, I just put him in that.
Remember now, in Hollywood, there's this thing called there's this thing called character acting. You know what I mean? It's like we have some very famous character actors. I would say Clint Eastwood is probably one of the greatest character actors, even though he's a headliner. So he's not just a character actor. But when you see Clint Eastwood over the years, you know what you're going to get.
He does,
You know,
And that's
you're not
that
gonna see-
old masculine profile. Steve McQueen did it so well. James Coburn. I mean, I can do a Lee Marvin. You're acting a lot with your face, you know, with simple dialogue. So that's also like almost like a throwback. We don't see that anymore.
Tommy Lee Jones is
Now,
one of
I'll
yeah,
say,
big time.
I'll say someone who has never seen a single Blade movie, that maybe in this case they finally realized the obvious, which is what the fans want is to see Blade go after the vampires. That's what made the Wesley Snipes version so well liked.
Why did it take them 5 years?
Yeah,
to figure
I
that out?
Because they're all because the producers, and film executives always think that they can, quote, improve and do things better. There's this story, perhaps apocryphal, where when they were making the Harriet Tubman movie, they wanted to cast Julia Roberts under the idea that no one would notice that it was a white woman playing Harriet Tubman.
Like an M. Night Shyamalan twist. He just revealed that it's Harriet Tubman in the last 5 minutes of the movie.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah,
Like, why is a white woman leading slaves?
Well, I
Holy
mean, if
shit.
Henry VIII's second wife could be black, why can't Harriet Tubman be white? So hopefully they will understand that they need to go, yes, back to basics and give fans what they want. Like that's a reason Blade is so beloved, because that's the character. It's not, we are not going to go see Blade's daughter. People are not
It's
going
only
to
Blade
go...
isn't beloved because black people finally have representation in comics.
Well, I don't know. I mean, a majority of the Blade fans that I know have been Hispanic or white. I mean, not that many black fans I know. But I'll just say that.
Where's
Go ahead.
Shaquille O'Neal's Steel movie? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is he going to make another
forget
Shazam
that
or Kazam?
fucking-
Shaq Fu was fun. I don't care what anyone says. Shaq Fu
I never
was a
saw
fun
that
video
one.
game.
And it was
Shazam was fucking hilarious.
when it was Kazam or Shazam. I think it was Kazam. When Siskel and Ebert made that one of their worst movies of the year, they said that they need to, if Shaquille O'Neal was going to be an actor, they needed to make films where his height was not the dominant feature. And they said, you know, just how Danny DeVito doesn't play short guys, he just plays guys. Same way with that. They're going to just focus on that, but they have nothing to give Shaq except his height and how he towers over everyone.
Yeah, except in Twins when Danny DeVito is legitimately like genetic nothing. Like he's like the leftover made up genetic pudding.
That was part
they
of
didn't
that was part
put
of the
into
joke.
Arnold.
He was
But,
the regressive genes of that twin.
But you were
He was
focusing
everything
in
regressive.
like movies like in War of the Roses or Other People's Money that he was diminutive, or in Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile, he was just a guy. He wasn't just a short guy. I mean, kind of almost like, I want to say, Paul Williams in Smokey and the Bandit.
It is funny though in Other People's Money because he's basically playing Donald Trump and he's trying to seduce like this woman and he's at his height and it's just like, okay, this is awkward. Can we move to the next scene, please?
But so I'm glad, and I'm glad that Mahershala Ali
Well-
has been fighting to keep the character to what the original character was and what the fans want. It shows that he has an interest. It's not just an interest in the character; it's an interest in his career, and he knows that if he's in a bad Blade movie, that's going to be detrimental to his career. And one more point: yes, Ryan Gosling has pretty much been playing the same character for most of his career. Every so often, he'll play something different, but for the most part, it's the same kind of stern, emotionless.
Ryan
performance.
Reynolds?
Well,
Lars and the Real Girl.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you this much: this movie in 2 years isn't gonna matter unless Deadpool 3 is a hit. Like they need this film to save the entire MCU. Now the trailer came out. Mhm.
Even if even if Deadpool 3 does gangbusters, it's not going to save the MCU. Actually, that was my video that I did earlier today. It was literally titled "Deadpool 3 will not save."
Ooh,
the
I'm gonna have
MCU.
to see that. Well, no, I know someone. I know his generation's Roger Ebert will watch it 4 times opening weekend because that's what he
Nobody
did with the
knows
first
who the
Deadpool.
hell that is,
Why?
by the way.
Why?
Because he watched it every weekend when it was in theaters, and watched it 4 times opening weekend because he's mentally 5. That's why.
It's just like the other guy that we know who
Wow.
does this. But
To be fair, I
here's
can't
the-
say shit. I saw Spider-Man 2 4 times when it was in theaters, so
and you should also be.
Yeah, but that's a good movie, so that's the difference
fair
there.
enough.
And the only comic book movie to have won visual effects, the best visual effects Oscar.
Yeah, I think Spider-Man
Let's
2
get
is
to this
literally one
thing.
of the top 3 superhero movies ever made. So
this is Deadpool 3, or aka Deadpool and Wolverine.
I told you, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome anywhere. Now get the fuck out of my bar.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
Hi, Peanut. I'm gonna need you to come with me right now.
Look, lady, I'm not interested.
All right, well, I'm sort of on the tick-tick, so upsy daisy. Here we go. Oh, whiskey dick of the claws. It's quite common in Wolverines over 40.
You don't want this.
Unless you want to take a deep breath through your fucking forehead, I suggest you reconsider.
He should know that.
I love the
I'm about
music
to lose
choice in this
everything
trailer, by the
Those
way.
carbonadium bullets.
Not my fucking problem.
Is that what you said when your world went to shit?
Come again.
This Wolverine let down his entire world.
Want to talk about what's haunting you, or should we wait for a third act flashback?
Go fuck yourself.
I don't know anything about saving worlds, but you do.
Trust me, kid, I'm no hero.
You were an X-Man. You were the X-Man. I am soaking wet right now.
Boys are so silly.
This is what I'm talking about. Big slow motion action sequence. Who knows if you live or die? Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
Want to do some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching powder?
They know all the slang terms. They have a list.
Even snowboarding?
Even disco dust.
White girl interrupted?
Even forest bump.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Yes. I can't.
So that is the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine. It's gotten a lot of positive views, obviously. A lot of people are very, very excited about this film, and this is probably the most excited anyone's been for an MCU film since Endgame. So Disney is at a position right now where they absolutely need this film to be an absolute home run, because if this film does not hit with audiences, then what else is anyone going to be looking forward to over the next 5 to 10 years? Spoiler alert, there's nothing.
Eternals
There's
2. Yeah, I'm sure they're looking forward to that. Another season of Echo. I'm sure they're
Question:
looking
who's
forward to
the
that.
bald chick in this?
That's the non-binary actress who they hired at the last minute. I don't even know her name's like Emma something, but
No,
she's
You mean who's the actress or who's the Casanova, Professor X's sister? Just Cassandra.
That fake thing that came like 3 years ago or some shit.
And those of us who are not well versed in comic books will know this. Hopefully, she will be introduced in the movie. Look, there are some things here that I'm not particularly thrilled about. First off, I had always been told that Logan was this epic swan song for the character of Wolverine. Now we're going to have him here, and he's going to play second fiddle to someone who is a perpetual joke.
That's a different universe, man. We're
It's
in the
a different
multiverse.
To be fair, actually, Hugh Jackman did talk with oh my goodness, why am I blanking on the director for Logan? Help me out, guy that just did that shitty Indiana Jones movie.
Mangold?
Mangold.
Yeah.
James Mangold.
Hugh Jackman spoke with Mangold before doing this to make sure that, showing the script, talking about it, make sure that doing so would not diminish Logan, make sure that this was not an affront to that being the swan song for the character Wolverine. And if what Hugh Jackman is saying is true, and coming from someone who's not even super excited for this movie, to be honest, Mangold and Hugh Jackman agreed that this would be a good movie to do, and it would not shit all over the legacy of Logan.
Because we're doing multiverses.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Not
going to be
even because we're
exciting
doing
or
multiverses.
original. Second, do you run the risk of turning Wolverine, who's still very dour character, into something of a joke? Is he in?
I mean, he and Deadpool have paired up so much in the comics, though.
In that X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Those two are always fucking.
Okay. And it's not a comic book.
It's a different
But
medium,
it's an
but they
adaptation
still
of a comic
are. But
book.
the dynamic,
Right.
can
It's
still
an
fit.
adaptation of a comic book, which is
And
a
for
movie.
fans, which are
I
the people
know.
that you're wanting the money from, they are going to want something that is accurate to the source material. The
Is
fans
it
of this
actually?
are the people who are
Is it actually adapted from a specific story?
So
No.
I don't think it's a direct adaptation of Wolverine versus of Deadpool versus Wolverine, but I've seen shots from this trailer that made me believe that they are putting the Deadpool versus Wolverine story in there.
Okay.
So
Which
why
was
is he
a
emerging?
4-issue run in like
Or at
2004.
least call outs
There-
or shout outs to it.
There's a reason why they're emerging from what looks like Ant-Man's helmet.
So I think I know the reason for that.
His
It would
head,
be a bit of a spoiler to say so, though. But yes, there is a reason.
Please.
I
So
don't think anyone cares.
Okay, so in the Old Man Logan timeline, several of the superheroes are dead because it takes place so far in the future. Wolverine's one of the few left alive, and yes, the giant deceased corpse of Ant-Man has been turned into a base of operations for I don't remember what the villains were. Basically, for the villains.
Look, at this point, as I've said many years, for this, for the world's longest and most expensive soap opera, I think what they should do is at the very beginning of this movie put previously on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so that those of us who have no idea who any of these characters are, just explain all of the nuances that we have to know before we can even watch. And I say this as someone who saw Deadpool. Dude, no. Why should I?
Yeah, read an entire novel.
No, okay. So
spoilers and
Rick,
everything.
did you like? Hold on, Rick. Did you like Fallout? Did you watch and like Fallout?
What's Fallout?
I haven't even gotten to it, and I want to see it.
Fallout is.
Okay,
You know what I mean? I'm waiting to watch it.
I saw the first Deadpool, and I said I would not watch another, and I don't think I will watch. I didn't see 2. I didn't see 3.
Okay, then you're not the target demographic though. If you watch the first one and you didn't, and you said you're not going to watch anymore, then why would you watch the third one? This isn't being made for you.
know what?
Like,
I would watch it because Jacob would tell me to.
Leslie talking.
Oh,
is
yeah,
on
like
this
you would
movie here
listen,
because
'cause,
I was actually thinking that this is the beauty and the genius of what George Lucas did with the opening crawl, because that's what you're talking about. You know, if you like, he was inspired by the old Saturday morning serials of his youth, and they would always do that. You know, like previously, or when we left our hero, such and such. You know, you remember the 60s Batman used to do that too. They would leave him in peril, and then in the beginning of the next one, they would show what led up to where he was. You know, so there is something to be said for that. Obviously, you're not going to get that here. But I'll tell you what I am sick and tired of. I am sick and tired of the overuse of old, like 80s or 90s music being put into the, like, if I see one more trailer that does that, every one of them now, and they do it in some like
Thank
little
James Gunn for that.
Yeah,
no, that's not just Deadpool. That's every
dissonant
that's not
pop
Deadpool, that's
covers of
everything.
old songs. Yeah, I can't. No.
and they play it like it's supposed to be
normally
haunting.
9 times
you know?
out of 10, I completely agree with that criticism. But because that is on brand for what Deadpool is and always has been, in this instance, it does work, in my opinion.
You always know when a movie set in the
Because
80s
it's
because they'll play Blue Monday.
Insane. It's literally
Say that again,
insane to
Rick?
put that
no,
music
I'll say
over
that you
what
always-
you're seeing.
Yes,
that's
a
why
cliche.
it works.
They do it
No,
in every.
I don't know
that's
if it
the-
works.
That's the
I don't know
problem.
if it works.
That's the problem.
No,
It's overused.
Yeah,
I agree.
know,
It's
so
overused
even though-
100%.
I know.
Yes,
I
it
just
is
said that
overused. I agree.
I just
But
said
when
that you
it's
always know when a
used
movie
right,
set
it
in the
works.
80s. You always know a movie set in the 80s if they play Blue Monday by New Order.
Like Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, and it's
Like
a
I can
good
tell you
remix,
now.
by the way.
Like I can tell you
Good
now.
song.
Put out any movie. Don't worry, be happy. Oh, awesome! Get the
Well,
fuck out of here,
but the
bro.
thing
Come up
that-
with a new idea.
I will
You know
say
what I
though
mean?
that just based on the trailer,
Don't they
again
already got a
based on
Bob
the
Marley
trailer,
movie coming out?
it already came out and it bombed. I'll just say that just based on the trailer, I've
how
never
up to
been a
date I am.
particular fan of self-referential moments. Like, this is what it's about. Explosions in the background. I mean, remember that's what they did in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and where they had Ryan
He's
Reynolds
always
play.
breaking the fourth wall, though.
Yes, but it's something that's not
You,
really appeal to me.
you,
Will
it's
they
totally
even
fine to
reference?
not
Will
like
they
that,
ever?
Rick.
Will they reference X-Men
Hold on, Rick.
Origins Wolverine in this?
So we got to understand. Rick watched the first one, swore that he was never going to watch a Deadpool movie again. So I'm trying
Rick,
to understand
if
the
you are
lore
not
of Deadpool.
familiar
And I
with
did
the
the
source
same
material,
thing with Mission Impossible. I saw the first one and I said I would never watch another one, and I have kept my word, despite very firm criticism from so many people around here.
But Rick, let's take Deadpool out of the equation. Let's say you never read the Harry Potter books. Let's say you watched the first Harry Potter movie. You said, "Oh, this movie fucking sucks. I'm not going to watch anymore." That does not mean the movies are bad or worse, or even more so. It does not mean the movies do not accurately represent the source material they're pulled from. That does have fans the world over. And if you are making a movie, which is an adaptation of something that exists, your first goal should be to get money from the people who already have read the source material or played the source material or whatever it is they're basing it off of, because that is your initial market. Anything outside of that, you can extrapolate upon. You can bring in normies. Your first goal should be bring in the people that are.
This movie is not made for the general public. It's made for just purely comic book readers.
That's not what I. No, you're again.
That's what I'm understanding. That's what I'm understanding.
No,
that's what I'm
all
understanding
these-
because you're saying since I've never read the comic books and I've never seen the show.
No, that's not what I said. Hold on, Rick.
I did
stop,
not
buddy.
read.
You're putting words in my mouth.
I
Come on.
read maybe the first Harry Potter book, and I was not impressed. I didn't think it was very well written.
And that's all well and good, but you
children.
need to understand my argument, because if you miscategorize my argument, then you're going to make an argument against it as a false equivalence. What I'm saying is, when you make an adaptation of something, when you are setting to adapt something, your first target market are the original consumers of the initial adaptation, and then your secondary market are going to be the normies. So when you're making a Deadpool movie or a Harry Potter movie or a James Bond movie, or insert anything that started off as a different medium, your first goal should be, we need to make sure the people that originally bought this product also want to buy this new version, because they are going to be the barometer for which they tell their buddies and their normie friends to go see it.
So in other words, if they watch the first two, they need to entice them to watch the third one, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I don't know. I never read any of the Ian Fleming novels, and I jumped into Bond pretty late, probably at the end of the Roger Moore era, and I pretty much understood what was going on.
So Bond may have been a bad example because they do more of a standalone thing as opposed to actually follow the novels. But put forth any adaptation, Dune, for example. If the first Dune movie that was done a few years ago was a garbage movie, but from people that had read the books and loved the books, then those people that read the books, all the books, would have gone to the far reaches of the internet, told everyone what a blasphemous fucking movie it was, and it would not have done numbers.
I'm not sure about that. I've never finished Dune, and I put it as my second best film of that year.
What is the point of adapting something that already exists, if not to please the people who have already paid for the original model?
Jesus.
To expand the audience. I'm sure that many people did not. People who've watched something like A Gone with the Wind or Bridge on the River Kwai. Bridge on the River Kwai was a novel, and I'm sure there were people who did not read the novel by Pierre Boulle, or who did not read Planet of the Apes, which was also a Pierre Boulle novel.
But was it part of the pop culture zeitgeist beforehand? Marvel comics were part of the pop culture zeitgeist before there were ever movies.
I don't know if that was the case. They started out with Iron Man, which was not a major character.
No, they started off with X-Men. I'm not talking about the MCU. I'm talking about when it comes to Marvel. When it comes to Marvel movies.
Sorry, I can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference.
Marvel
it is now.
Marvel had been part of the pop culture zeitgeist for 60 years before they started making movies, or at least movies that the general audiences cared about. But why did the general audiences care about them? Because the people that had read the comics, that had consumed the source material, were so publicly positive about the adaptations. That's going to be the case for literally any sort of adaptation. That's why you have so many failed adaptations.
Yeah, because they take name recognition and then do what they want to do with it. Now they attract that core fan base that you're talking about. I would say, like, for like I talk about the whole T'Challa recast T'Challa thing. It's like for Black Panther, for example, I always use that because there are the comic book fans, who were loyalists, who went in there to see this character, who loved that character. Then they went and killed the lead character. and they turned it into something completely different. Like that whole Wakanda Forever thing that happened, that's not Black Panther, you know, but you see what they did. They hijacked it and made it into what they wanted to make it into. When was Black Panther a story of Black female empowerment? That's what it is now. You know what I mean? And to suggest anything different is it's like fighting words at this point, you know? So it's like, it's true. It's like, obviously Marvel Comics has been around forever. It's beloved, but what's the same thing with Star Wars? It's like they took it and they changed it, and you know, it's the travesty that it is today.
Well, I don't know. Again, I'm having a little hard time accepting Leon your premise, only because I read The Hobbit, and the 3 movies bear a very thin similarity to the actual
And everyone
novel.
hates them.
Yes, but they were supposedly made for the people who read the novel, correct? And who were fans
No.
of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
That was studios blatantly lying, though, because studios we got to talk about the actual products, not what the studios say. The studios can say whatever they want. We need to examine the product as is. And when you watch The Hobbit, it was not made for the people that read the novel, not at all.
No, the animated version was better, by the way.
I completely agree.
Even with the musical numbers. And for the Lord of the Rings, the whole trilogy, I know there are people who were upset that, oh, Tom Bombadil wasn't in it, and all the, Saruman didn't invade the Shire. It's like, it really didn't matter to me. And as someone who read the books, it didn't matter to me. The adaptations worked fine. You're never going to get a straight adaptation.
I don't think anyone's making that case. No one's making the case you're ever going to get straight adaptation. Obviously, there's going to be changes when you change from one medium to another. However, the end goal should be, when you're changing it from one medium to another, you do as best as you can possibly do with the source material, because that is what the initial fans have.
I would just say that if I'm not going to be welcome, if I wanted to give Deadpool 2 and this one, and I don't know if this is part 3 or this is another one altogether, if I'm not going to be welcome because I have to know the minutia of all of these characters and all of their backgrounds and all of them from various other verses, why should I invest my time and even try if I'm going to have to get like an encyclopedia and go and read endlessly about something?
But the things that you just questioned were very basic things. It wasn't minutia. When you said, "Oh, they run the risk of turning Wolverine into a joke," no, it's very basic knowledge of comic books that's not the case when Wolverine and Deadpool have their team up.
Sorry, I don't.
Not basic knowledge.
I don't think I would have that base. That's not basic knowledge. I mean, I'm sorry. My basic knowledge of X-Men came from the cartoons.
Batman's parents being killed. That's basic knowledge.
Well,
right.
real quick
basic
here.
knowledge of Wolverine and Deadpool, who are not A-list characters, or at least Deadpool is not an A-list character for a while. Deadpool has always been a C-list character at best. So if you're going to make a movie based off a C-list character, look, at that point, I don't know what to expect. This is the 3rd movie in the series. If you watch the first, it gives you a very good setup. The second one, while not as good, expands on the story further. The 3rd one is going to possibly do the same, or it might blow. Who knows? But
I'll say this:
what you're asking for stuff that seems like should be requested out of a first film, not a 3rd film in the series.
Leon, when I saw the first Thor movie, I literally asked, "What's Jeremy Renner doing here?" I had no idea who the character was or why he was there, or like, what is this? In the second,
wasn't that the first time they introduced him in the MCU though? Was that Thor movie?
Hawkeye. In the second one, I didn't even remember it so much that I had to look up my review to even know if I had seen.
The second movie sucks.
But I don't know if I want to go see a movie, if it's going to appeal to me and say, oh, I need to know so much. I'm basing this on the trailer.
For everyone.
Okay,
so then fair, Rick, like, you're not going to watch the 3rd one anyway. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not every movie.
So then this movie's not made for the general audience. This movie's then, again, as I said.
No, I mean, you yourself said you're not going to watch the 3rd one. Like,
well, because it's not of
not everyone is the general. Not everyone is the general audience.
So again, it goes back to what I said. This movie is made only for the comic book fans. It's not made for the general public.
If this movie was only made for the comic book fans, why did the previous 2 crack almost a bill? Like, that's just not accurate. The previous 2 movies were massive box office
because there were some people who saw it 4 times opening weekend and who saw it every.
Shut up. So, Brave New World is the movie that comes after this one. You have Thunderbolts immediately after that. So that's gonna phase out phase 5 of the MCU. And then the only thing that they have announced for phase 6 is the Fantastic Four, Blade, and the 2 Avengers movies. One of them doesn't have a name, title, villain, or team. So that's your future outside of this movie. So Leon, you said earlier that you don't believe that this film is going to save the MCU. There's honestly nothing to look forward to after this movie. So even if it does do well, it's like, what is anyone supposed to be, I guess, invested in after
People
this?
aren't going to come to this movie because it's an MCU movie. They're coming to this movie because it's a Deadpool movie. The fact that it's tied to the MCU is all the weakest and worst parts of the trailer and of the marketing. The MCU is fucking dead. People are coming because the first 2 Deadpool movies have absolutely proven themselves at the box office, and they want one last hurrah with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool and Hugh Jackman.
You know,
I think that's going to be it. I think it's going to do great, you know, just because, you know, they want to see Deadpool, like you said, perfect, you know, and of course, this Wolverine tie-in, this is going to be big, you know, for a lot of people. And I'm saying that, listen, I'm saying that objectively because honestly, I passed on the first 2, believe it or not. You know, I see the appeal of it. It's just that I kind of feel like I can almost, like I said, I don't believe in going to movies where I can just predict how it's going to be, and I can just see all the fourth wall breaking. Yes, very funny and all that stuff. I'll get around to it. You know, I'm not saying that it was a bad movie. I'm just like I don't want to commit time to it yet. You know, but I definitely see the draw of it, and I think that a lot of people are going to go see it, man. You know, I think a lot.
Yeah, you make me defend this movie that I'm not even sold on. By the way, like I'm still not sure how I feel about this movie. I just feel like the argument needs to be made for why other people are interested in it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they're marks, yeah, we know. Yeah, look, I mean, it's fine.
Mark said it. It's because it's a Deadpool movie
with Wolverine.
You know, yeah, be excited for next.
I mean, it's the same
product.
energy that we got from No Way Home. It's like, you know, when everybody started hearing that Toby and Andrew were going to be in it, that was it, man. People, they were going to love it.
No, because first off, they did that on Doctor Who, where they had the past doctors to reunite in specials.
Yeah, but nobody watches Doctor Who. That's
you cannot compare Doctor Who to Spider-Man.
For me and Pete. And second, I was not enthusiastic because I'm not eager to see Toby and Andrew back in their
Rick, that's you. The film made like $2 billion. Like,
yeah. No,
Rick, you're arguing from your standpoint, you know,
right? Which is what a critic should do.
You know,
yes.
What?
Yeah,
that's what a critic does. Yes, they argue from their own point of view. That's how that works.
I think what it was just
except that when you're judging these movies, you got to look at it
and callbacks, and I'm supposed to squee with delight that I see Tobey Maguire, who's old enough to be Tom Holland's father.
You can think for yourself. That's good.
That Andrew Garfield is back. I'm going, well, no, I'm not.
But
excited.
Objectively, the film made $2 billion, so there was a lot of people in there.
There's a lot of idiots in the world. You're right.
Yes, it made.
This
made
is what
money.
I'm saying. The
Mean
point that I was trying to make.
Twilight made millions of dollars. Twilight was a massive hit. Does that mean it's a great film? Does that mean that it's
was
a great
anyone arguing
We're not talking about that.
No,
but you are
made
making that
billions
point.
of dollars. If you're going to judge it based on the box office, then Twilight is one of the great turning points in cinema. Come on, that's an absurd comment in my view. To say
Or
that
Avatar, the Avatar movies made a shitload.
Yeah.
So what?
If it's an absurd comment, it's an absurd comment that I was not making, bro. That's my point.
No,
it's
I'm
like,
talking
that's
about
not
Jacob.
what we're talking. That's not what we're talking
Jacob's
about.
the one that brought up that it made billions of dollars.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it's like critically speaking, I guess we're taking it back to the whole critical thinking thing because you got to see past yourself. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Deadpool, but I understand the draw. You know, No Way Home was the same thing. It's like people absolutely wanted to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew. As soon as I said that, you were like, no, listen, I was in the theater when the whole theater erupted when they came onto the screen, bro. You know what I mean? So it's like
theater
it's
that
just
I
the
went
fact
to,
of the matter.
there wasn't these.
Well, see, this is what I just said. What I just said
because with the light.
Because you're saying that people weren't interested in seeing Toby and Andrew when the film made $2 billion, showing that people were in fact interested in seeing Andrew and Toby.
They were interested in seeing a Spider-Man movie, not so much Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 meets Spider-Man 3.
Rick,
I don't know if that was
Dude, they
not a
went
selling
to
point
the
for me.
theaters to see Toby and Andrew.
Literally, that
I
had been the unofficial rumors for a
Yes,
year.
that is the main reason. It was a
that's not the reason I went. That's not the reason
That's
I
not
went.
the reason that you went. Of course, no one's arguing that.
We're talking
but this
about
idea that
general
everyone was so excited to see Toby.
Oh my God! Okay,
and
so you're getting
everyone was
only
excited to see
hyperbole.
Andrew. I did not know that the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies were that beloved, and that so many people were so thrilled to see Andrew Garfield.
Rick, you're taking every word literally instead of are you a woman?
The Amazing Spider-Man movies were not good. They were terrible. Spider-Man.
Look, all I'm saying is that the Homecoming, which is the first MCU Spider-Man movie, did 880. That's because people wanted to see Spider-Man the MCU. The second one did slightly over that one, 1.1, and then the third one did over $2 billion, and it was because they brought back the other two Spider-Man movies. Otherwise, no one would have. It would have been as successful as the other two.
That was the major draw. That was a major draw. There were other things. There were other aspects to it. Now,
yes, we all went to go see Zendaya. Yes, we all went to see Zendaya. Yes, that was it. Yes, we
went to go see the other MJ.
We needed to see Ned
wanted to see his
and
fat
Flash.
best friend. Yeah.
We needed to see the Scooby-Doo gang. We needed to see Doctor Strange again.
Rick, if it helps, I didn't go see this movie. Okay, and I grew up with Tobey Maguire. I loved the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Okay, but I didn't go see this just because I have been out on the MCU and Marvel and anything that's connected to it for about a decade. And so the only reason I still I review them is because I like to come on Fridays or Tuesday night show and just talk about movies. And like, I'm out on Marvel. Look, I'm glad that so many people were excited to go see the movies because that keeps the business alive. That hopefully will translate to more creative projects being greenlit, right? Hopefully that's the case. I can say that it is, but yeah, I think that people probably went to see the 3 Spider-Mans showing up in the same movie. That's not to say that I think they're good. But yeah, and just real quick on just real quick on Deadpool. I saw the first one; it was okay. The second one I thought was crap. I wouldn't go see the third one unless I'm going to be on something to review it. Then I have to see it, or else I'm full of shit. You know what I mean? So I want to be able to be as honest as I can be while still giving my opinion. That's all.
Rick, this is fascinating to me because you object every time somebody even suggests that Toby and Andrew were a draw. Do you honestly think that they were not?
I won't say that they weren't a draw. They were. I could say they were a draw. I object to the idea that they were the draw. That was the primary reason.
So if you had to say what was the draw, if you had to say there was
draw
something.
is that people really like Spider-Man and the character. They like the Holland's interpretation of Tony Stark Jr. as this blundering, bubbling idiot who is just fascinated by everything and who somehow got into MIT despite not being able to turn a car or a light on. So that was a reason. I think the primary reason is because people like Spider-Man and they like the character. I like the character. I like Spider-Man. I think out of all the comic book characters, he would be my favorite. But the reason I have an issue with the idea that Toby and Andrew seeing them together at last, it was like that was been a golden dream of mine, which it never has been. Is I remember how much people disliked the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. I don't know many people who think that they are on the same level as the Tobey Maguire film.
Well, to be fair, that's why they brought back both Spider-Mans, not just Andrew Garfield.
Well, why not?
Can I respond to that?
I think it's well in a moment.
Hold on, Orange. Let Orange respond to that one first.
I don't know who wants to. Okay, go ahead. Orange.
The reason why Andrew or people wanted to see Andrew back was because he needed, or the fans wanted, that redemption from the failure of the second Amazing Spider-Man movie. A lot of people have agreed that the first Amazing Spider-Man was actually pretty good. It was the second one that was absolutely fucking terrible. When people saw that
I thought the
Andrew
first one was
Garfield
terrible.
was coming back, they actually were happy that he actually got a redemption arc.
Well, no. I mean, I would just say that I was not someone who thought the first Spider-Man was good, and I mean the Amazing Spider-Man. I like the first two Tobey Maguire ones. The third one, I defy anyone here to defend Spider-Man 3.
I will defend Spider-Man 3 all day long.
Yeah, it's
You will defend it. You will
Spider-Man-
defend the Saturday Night Live moment, the Saturday Night
I'll
Fever
tear that
moment.
movie apart.
Yes, I will absolutely.
Spider-Man 3 is still better than
no,
Amazing
hold on,
Spider-Man
I'm taking
2.
this seriously because I'm getting real.
Well.
The internet has convinced people for the last 15 years that moment is bad. When in all
I was gonna
reality,
laugh at the
that is a
Alec
literal
Baldwin
comic book
story, but
accurate
this is
moment
better.
because what the symbiote does, the symbiote accentuates all of your worst qualities.
Look,
And so
I will tell you
when
when I saw Spider-Man
Comic
3
shit.
with my friend, this guy right here, who sadly passed on. When I saw that, and he does his little Saturday Night Fever moment, my friend Fidel told me that he thought that they somehow had slipped in a gag reel in the movie because
so your buddy made a joke. I'm
this.
sorry, that does
We
not.
could not
Your
believe
buddy
that this
making a
was
joke about
serious.
Saturday Night Fever means literally nothing to me. When
it means something to me because I had the same reaction. I'm looking at this and I'm going, "This is ridiculous. This is terrible." And there were just
ridiculous
far
or
too many
not
villains
in
because
character.
You had emo Spider,
Which is
you
in
had-
character.
You had Venom, and then
Regardless
you
of
had
whether
Sandman,
you like it or not,
and
it
you were
is
just
in character,
you
and
had
that
one
mattered to
moment.
me as a
The
viewer.
villains, you had the villains go from one to the other to the other to the other.
Look,
It was hard to
here-
keep
here's the
track
deal.
of.
You asked me to
you
defend
had go
Spider-Man
from
3, so
one
let me
villain to another
fucking
because it
defend.
was just so-
Oh my god, I don't care!
You asked me to
If-
defend
if
Spider-Man
I-
3, so let me defend Spider-Man 3. Here's the deal. Spider-Man 3, while it is absolutely the worst of the three, it is still better than, I would say 70% of the MCU films, and all the stuff that people don't like about it is hokey, about emo Peter or whatnot. That, good or bad, doesn't alter the fact that it is in character, it is accurate. I feel like if people do not like it, hey, that's totally fine. On a filmmaking level, on a technical level, when it comes to the editing, when it comes to the blocking, when it comes to the choreography, when it comes to the writing, it is better than 70% of the MCU schlock that people on Rotten Tomatoes have given fucking 80% scores.
Right on, brother.
Not going to say it's a good
Well,
movie, but it is.
if I don't step in now, we're never going to end this show because you guys are never going to stop talking. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight because we're just about to go to bed. So this would be a good time to go ahead and draw this one up by saying Deadpool 3, Deadpool Wolverine, whatever it's called. I need to see a second trailer before I figure out if it's interesting or not.
Well, this
they
was
didn't
the second trailer,
anything.
so...
Was that was the first one, right?
No, this is the
Got
second
my
one.
interest.
The first one came out 2
But
months
I
ago.
also think it's the biggest scam that Disney's pulling.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, until I see something about a story there, I'm not gonna get my hopes too hard because apparently they're gonna try to do the whole riff of Loki and whatnot. So I mean, I don't care too much for that one, but we are gonna have to wrap things up here. It's all Leon's fault. Everyone just say it's Leon's fault in the chat. We can all go home happy.
I'm your new Lofty, everybody.
Yeah. So till then, let's go ahead and give you guys a chance to promote anything you got coming up so we can get out of here. Orange, I'm gonna start this one out with you. What do you got coming up, my friend?
Well, I got some videos coming out during the week. I have Orange Hat Uncensored on Friday night. It's going to be on my channel or this time because Janet from Another Planet's not going to be able to make it. Sunday is the weekly recap where me and Nerd with a Cigar are and Tuesday I'm finishing out the franchise theme streams with the Predator franchise, my thoughts on each movie and everything. And other than that, May has Wesley Snipes movies for ones and twos with me and Mara, as well as singles. It's going to be Blade 1 and 2 and Murder at 1600, as well as Demolition Man for the singles.
All right, then. You want to talk about Rick? What do you got coming up?
I hope to keep working on my Omen retrospective. So I've got Omen 3, Omen 4, and the first Omen coming up. then just reviewing more movies and hopefully starting a new series where I will start ranking Best Actress Oscar winners. So I have to look for like really obscure films that nobody's ever heard of, and yeah, just more reviews. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, Rob.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to do a podcast later this week, probably cover the Alec Baldwin thing just because it makes me laugh my ass off. So look out for that on my Twitter, when that'll be going live. And then I just have a bunch of reviews to get to. So thought it was a good spirited debate this evening. I kind of wish stuff like that happened more often. But usually I have to insult somebody first. So thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. So yeah, just keep looking, watching my Twitter for reviews, and this is going to be a busy week because I'm like Challengers is coming up. I think Alien is also releasing in theaters for its 45th anniversary on Friday. And then Boy Kills World is also a movie I want to check out, and I think we're going to be reviewing that on the next week's Barroom podcast. So I am looking forward to that.
Yep. And then completely unprepared to be on camera, Mr. Leon. How you doing?
Hey, well, first of all, I just want to say that this was absolutely awesome because, that spirited debate there at the end had an absolute blast. Absolutely no hard feelings. That was a lot of fun because that's what being a nerd used to be about. We used to go to the comic shop. We used to go, around the water cooler, and that's what we would do. We would talk about movies. We talk about superheroes, talk about anime, and we would argue. And that's what aside from all this culture war nonsense crap, actors transing their kids, this is what I want to get back to. So the fact that we were able to do that was absolutely awesome. So if you enjoy that sort of stuff, by all means, come on over to my channel, Words of Paradise. I cover nerdy news every day. Tomorrow's video, sometimes multiple times a day. Tomorrow's video is about, for those of you that are following the Gamergate 2 situation, Alyssa Mercante has decided to threaten my brother Hypnotic with a lawsuit. And so I'm sure pretty much the entire Saturday Night Hypnosis crew are going to be dropping videos talking about Alyssa Mercante and how she does not understand what defamation is. That's absolutely what's going to be coming out on my channel. And then every Monday, I do my own panel show, The Countercast, which is a fantastic time. I hope to have everybody that's been on the show today on at some point or another. It's a great show. Rotate the panel every week. That's Monday at 3 o'clock Central Time. Usually on Fridays, we also have the Neon Leon solo stream. There will be no Neon Leon this week because I'll be out of town at an anime convention. So make sure that you guys are ready to be inundated with cosplay pics. It's going to be a great time. And other than that, just thank you for having me on. It was a blast. And yeah, channel's Words of Paradise. Thank you.
And then our good buddy Mark with a C.
I'm going to bed. But thank you guys. Thank you for having me on. And hope to do it again soon. Much love to everybody in the chat.
All righty then. And then let you guys know what I got coming up tomorrow night on Bounty in the Comics channel. Myself, Cider, Spencer, maybe Nerdigans and Josh will be on the 01 podcast. I missed last week's show, but I'll be back for this week. Ever since I moved the Bible Lens to Sunday, 2 of the last 3 episodes that I've done have broken our records for most viewed episodes to date. So I did an episode last Sunday with TWRP, Technical Work Rate Productions, about Satanism and WWE. That's probably going to be our highest viewed episode by tomorrow, so go check that one out as well. My next episode will be this Sunday, and we'll be talking about the dangers of the upcoming Chrislam deception. A lot of people are saying that, Christians and Muslims should join forces, and that'll be great. No, it won't be. And I'm explaining to you exactly why that's actually the worst thing that can possibly happen. And then Tuesday next week on the Barroom podcast, like I said, we'll be back here and we'll be doing the review on that Boy Kills World movie as well, because that's the only way I get to avoid not watching a Zendaya movie for another week. So there you go. That's everything that we have coming up here. To everyone who joined us here tonight on our show, everyone who joined us here on the chat, Keith over on the Rumble side, but Dobafett, Neozoic, Dax, who else do we have here? We have Swag Lord, Leslie Tarkin, Tactus Jones, Christopher Dominguez, Cassie Alex, Spencer, Dante, Maurice, Dobafett Terminator, Rooftop Korean, everyone else who joined us on the show. Thank you very much. We're heading out of here now. We're going to go. Adios, bye-bye, good night. Go to sleep. Get out of here. Just leave. Just bye. Out of here.
It's over. Go home.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
Okay.
Get out! Get out!
You get the hell out!
Never mind who you thought I was. I'm Rick James, bitch.